There is a unique kind of stillness that falls upon the world deep in the night. A quiet that promises rest and invites surrender. The day is over. The light is gone, and your body craves this peace, this release into the soft depths of sleep. Yet, something inside you remains awake, alert, and impossibly heavy. It feels as if you are carrying a backpack filled with stones, a weight you have carried all day, and one you cannot seem to set down. Even now, your mind, instead of quieting, begins to play its endless films. Scenes from yesterday, from last year, from a decade ago, flicker behind your closed eyes. Words that were said, and words you wish you had said, echo in the silent room. You feel the sting of old regrets, the warmth of faded joys, the sharp edges of lingering sorrows. This is the paradox of our modern lives. We are propelled forward by a relentless demand to achieve, to become, to move on, yet we are tethered by the invisible threads of our own history. We drive into the future while looking only in the rearview mirror. This constant internal tug-of-war creates a state of deep exhaustion, a quiet anxiety that hums just beneath the surface of everything we do. It's a feeling of being stuck, of running in place, draining our precious energy on battles that are already over, and on wounds that we never allow to truly heal. But what if there was another way? A path that does not involve fighting the past or running from it. A path that is not about forgetting, but about understanding, a gentle art, a quiet wisdom that teaches us how to loosen our grip, stone by stone. This is not a distant, esoteric religion, but a practical science of the mind, an ancient understanding of how to find peace, not by adding more to our lives, but by learning to gently let go. It is a journey that begins with a simple intention to release the weight of yesterday and to allow your soul, finally, to rest. Tonight, we will walk that path together, not with struggle, but with softness, and allow the stories of wisdom to guide us back to the quiet, peaceful home that has always been waiting within. Let us begin by returning to that feeling of weight, the unseen baggage you carry upon your back. It is a curious burden, isn't it? Unlike a physical bag, no one else can see it. No one comments on its size or its apparent heaviness. You can walk through a crowded room, smile, and speak with others, all while the straps of this invisible pack dig deep into your shoulders. It has been with you for so long that you may have forgotten what it feels like to be without it. Its weight has become a part of you, a familiarage, a constant companion in your journey through life. At times, it feels like a cloak of lead, slowing your every step, making it harder to climb, harder to even stand tall. In other moments, it is just a dull, persistent pressure, a reminder of the miles you have traveled and the terrain you have crossed. This baggage is the past. But what is this thing we call the past? It is not a physical place. It is not a country you can revisit, nor a room you can re-enter. The past has no existence outside of the landscape of your own mind. It is a mosaic, crafted from three distinct materials: memory, emotion, and story. First, there are the memories themselves. We often think of our memories as accurate recordings, like perfect films stored in a vault. But they are not. They are more like paintings, sketched in broad strokes and colored by the light of our present feelings. A memory that once felt joyful can be tinged with sadness after a loss. A moment of embarrassment that once felt scorching can soften with the wisdom of age, becoming a humorous anecdote. Each time we recall an event, we are not simply replaying it. We are rebuilding it. We are painting over the old canvas with new pigments. The mind adds details, shifts the focus, and emphasizes certain elements while letting others fade into the background. So the past we carry is not the past as it truly was, but the past as we remember it now. It is a living, breathing, and ever-changing entity within us, shaped and reshaped by our present consciousness. The second material is emotion. A memory on its own is just a thought, a fleeting image, or a string of words. What gives it weight, what makes it stick, is the emotional charge attached to it. It is the lingering sting of anger from an old argument. It is the hollow ache of grief for someone who is gone. It is the hot blush of shame from a mistake made long ago. These emotions act like a powerful glue, binding us to the memory. And so, when the memory is triggered, the emotion erupts anew, as fresh and as potent as the day it was first felt. The body tenses, the heart rate changes, the breath becomes shallow. We are not just remembering a past event, we are re-experiencing its emotional reality in the present moment. This cycle of remembrance and reliving is what makes the baggage so heavy. It is a constant expenditure of our life force, fueling ghosts with the energy of our present moment. The third, and perhaps most powerful, material is story. As human beings, we are natural storytellers. We take the scattered fragments of memory and the raw power of emotion, and we weave them into a coherent narrative. This narrative becomes our identity. I am the person who was abandoned. I am the one who always makes the wrong choice. I am the victim of an unfair world. Or even, I am the person whose best days are behind them. These stories, repeated silently to ourselves day after day, become the very definition of who we think we are. We carry the baggage of the past, not just as a collection of unfortunate events, but as evidence to support our personal narrative. We cling to the story because, in a strange way, it gives us a sense of certainty, a solid identity in a constantly changing world. To let go of the story feels like letting go of ourselves, and so we hold on tight, believing this heavy narrative is who we are. But here is the secret: the memories, the emotions, the stories, they are not the problem. The problem is the act of clinging. The problem is the refusal to put the baggage down. Imagine holding a heavy stone in your outstretched hand. At first, it is manageable, but after a minute, your arm begins to ache. After 10 minutes, it trembles with strain. After an hour, your muscles are screaming in agony. The stone has not changed. Its weight is constant. The suffering comes not from the stone itself, but from the continuous effort of holding on to it. It is the same with our past. The events are over. They have happened. The pain we feel now comes from the relentless mental act of holding on, of replaying, of resisting what is. This clinging is the source of the weight, the first step toward release. The very first and most important step is simply to notice that you are clinging without judgment, without criticism. You simply bring a gentle awareness to the tension in your mind and body. You notice the familiar stories starting to play. You feel the old emotions beginning to rise. And you say to yourself, with a kind of gentle curiosity, "Ah, here it is again." The weight, the story, the feeling, this simple act of noticing is profoundly powerful. It creates a tiny sliver of space between you, the observer, and the baggage you are carrying. In that space, freedom is born. In that space, you realize that you are not the baggage. You are the one who is carrying it. And if you are the one carrying it, you can also be the one to set it down. There is a timeless story that illustrates this perfectly. Two Zen monks, one old and one young, were on a long pilgrimage. Their journey took them along a road that had been turned to thick mud by heavy rains. As they approached a bend, they saw a young woman in beautiful silk robes, standing by the roadside, weeping. She was clearly distressed, as the mud was so deep she could not cross without ruining her fine clothes and likely falling. The young monk, strictly adhering to the monastic rule that forbade him from touching a woman, looked away and walked past her. He expected his master to do the same, but the old monk, without a word, walked up to the young woman, lifted her into his arms, carried her across the muddy expanse, and gently set her down on the other side. She bowed in gratitude, and the old monk bowed back, and then continued on his way. The two monks walked on in silence, but the young monk's mind was in turmoil. He was shocked, and then scandalized, and then angry. How could his master, a man he revered, so brazenly break such a sacred rule for hours? He walked in agitated silence, the scene replaying in his mind over and over. He composed speeches in his head, condemning his master's actions. He imagined the woman's silk against the monk's robes, the impropriety of it all. The weight of his judgment and confusion grew heavier with every step. Finally, as evening approached and they neared their destination, the young monk could bear it no longer. He burst out, "Master, how could you do that? We are monks. We are forbidden to go near a female, let alone touch one. How could you carry that woman across the road?" The old monk looked at his young companion. His eyes filled not with defensiveness, but with a calm, gentle compassion. He smiled softly and said, "I left the woman by the river hours ago. Are you still carrying her? This story is our story. We are all the young monk. We carry people, conversations, injustices, and regrets with us long after the moment has passed. We carry the memory of the woman in silk, the weight of our judgments, the burden of our righteous anger, for miles and miles down the road of our lives. The event is over. The river has been crossed. But in our minds, we are still carrying the weight. We are still clutching the story. The invitation, now, in this moment of quiet, is to look honestly at what you are still carrying. What woman by the river are you refusing to set down? A harsh word from a loved one, a professional failure, a choice you wish you had made differently. Acknowledge it. See it clearly. Feel its weight, and know that the story of this weight, this baggage, is not the final chapter. It is only the beginning of our journey toward understanding. Now that we have acknowledged this weight and felt its presence, let us look more closely at where it lives and moves. Let us observe the very nature of the river where these thoughts flow, the restless, ever-moving river of the mind. Imagine yourself standing on the bank of a great, ancient river. This river is your mind. It has always been flowing, long before this moment, and it will continue to flow long after. It is not personal. It is not your enemy. Its fundamental nature is simply to move. Sometimes, after a season of gentle rain, the river is calm, wide, and clear. You can see the smooth stones on the riverbed, and the water flows with a soft, hypnotic rhythm. On these days, the thoughts that drift by are peaceful, easy, and light. They are like small, fallen leaves, gently carried by the current, barely making a ripple as they pass. At other times, perhaps after a great storm upstream, the river is a churning torrent. It is brown with silt and debris. Its surface broken by powerful, chaotic waves. On these days, the thoughts that are carried in its current are heavy and sharp. They are like uprooted trees, with jagged branches that can snag and pull you under. There are rapids of anxiety, deep eddies of sorrow, and fast currents of anger. This, too, is the nature of the river. It is not good or bad. It is simply what is. It reflects the weather of your life, the internal and external conditions that you experience. For most of our lives, we are not taught about this river. We are not even aware that we are standing on its bank. We believe that we are the river. We identify with its every mood and its every current. When the river is calm, we feel calm. When the river is raging, we feel we are raging. And because the turbulent times are often so uncomfortable, we develop a deep-seated instinct to try and control the water. We see a painful thought, a heavy log of regret, floating towards us, and we jump into the water to fight it. We try to build a dam with our bare hands to stop the flow of thoughts, believing that peace can only be found when the river is completely still and empty. This struggle is the source of immense suffering. To try and stop the mind from thinking is like trying to stop the wind from blowing. It is a battle against nature itself, a battle we are destined to lose. And the very act of fighting, of resisting, creates more turbulence. You push one thought away, and in the effort of pushing, two more appear. You become frustrated with yourself for thinking, which is just another thought, another wave in the churning river. You become angry at your own mind for not being quiet. And this anger is the muddiest debris of all. Peace, you see, is not found in stopping the river. Peace is found in remembering your place on the bank. You are not the river. You are the observer, the silent witness, standing on the shore. You are the vast, unchanging riverbank that holds the flowing water. From this stable ground, you can simply watch. You do not have to interfere. A thought of the past appears. A dark, waterlogged piece of wood. From the bank, you can simply notice it. Ah, a memory. You watch it float by and disappear around the bend. You don't have to jump in, grab it, and carry it as your own. A thought of the future appears. A flash of shimmering light on the water's surface. A plan or a worry. From the bank, you can notice it too. Ah, a thought about tomorrow. You watch it sparkle, and then you watch it flow away. The riverbank is not affected by what flows in the river. It remains stable, present, and peaceful. The bank offers a sanctuary. This is the essence of mindfulness meditation. It is the gentle, repeated act of returning to the riverbank. Your mind will wander. You will find yourself, time and time again, soaked and struggling in the middle of the current, entangled with a particular thought or feeling. This is not a failure. It is simply the habit of a lifetime. The practice is to notice, without judgment. Oh, I am in the river again. And then, with great kindness to yourself, you gently guide your awareness back to the solid ground of the bank. You can use your breath as an anchor, a sturdy tree on the riverbank, whose presence you can always return to. With each conscious breath, you are walking out of the water and planting your feet firmly on the shore once more, resuming your role as the calm, impartial witness. The ancient teachers of the East had another powerful image for this restless quality of the mind. They called it the monkey mind. Imagine your mind is a vast treetop canopy, and living in this canopy is a wild, restless monkey. This monkey never stays still. It screeches and chatters, leaping from one branch to the next without a moment's pause. It grabs a mango, a thought of desire, takes one bite, and then drops it because it sees a colorful butterfly, a distraction. It chases the butterfly to another branch, but then hears a strange sound in the distance, a worry, and leaps frantically towards it. Chattering in fear, it is in constant motion, propelled by impulse, habit, and reaction. It is a creature of pure, untamed energy. For most of us, our consciousness is completely identified with this monkey. We believe we are the monkey. We feel its frantic energy as our own. We leap from branch to branch, from thought to thought, from desire to fear, completely caught in its chaotic dance. We are exhausted by the constant movement, but we don't know any other way to be. The practice of mindfulness is the discovery that you are not the monkey. You are the tree. You are the vast, silent, deeply rooted tree that provides the space for the monkey to leap and play. The tree is not disturbed by the monkey's antics. The tree does not judge the monkey or try to make it stop being a monkey. The tree simply holds it with a sturdy, unshakable presence. The branches are strong, the trunk is solid, the roots run deep into the earth. By becoming the tree, You provide a compassionate space for your own mind to do what it does, without being swept away by its energy. You can observe the monkey's dance from a place of profound stillness and peace. You can feel the wind in your leaves, the sun on your bark, and the stability of your connection to the earth. Even as the monkey chatters on, suffering, then is the moment we forget we are the tree and become the monkey. It is the moment we forget we are the riverbank and jump into the churning water. We identify with a thought. We believe its story. We get swept up in its emotional current, and we are carried away, far from the shore of the present moment. We grab onto a log of regret and are pulled downstream into the past. We get trapped in an eddy of anxiety, spinning in circles about the future. This is entanglement. It is the root of our dis-ease. We have sat for a while now on this peaceful riverbank. We have felt the solid ground beneath us. We have watched the restless monkey and the flowing water. We have tasted the freedom that comes from knowing we are the silent awareness, not the ceaseless activity of the mind. But this raises a profound and practical question. If our true nature is the calm observer, the stable riverbank, why do we so compulsively, so habitually, jump into the turbulent water? What is the invisible force that pulls us from the safety of the shore and into the powerful current? This force has a name. It is the force of attachment. It is a set of beautiful, seductive, golden chains that we ourselves have forged, link by link. And in our next step together, we will learn to look at these chains, not with fear, but with the clear light of understanding. We stand on the riverbank of the mind, watching the endless flow of thoughts and feelings. We have discovered that we are not the river, but the silent witness. And yet, we find ourselves repeatedly drawn into the water. We leap from the safety of the shore, compelled by an invisible force, and are swept away by the currents of memory and emotion. This force, this powerful magnetism that pulls us from the peace of the present moment, is called attachment. In the ancient Pali language, it is known as upadana, which means to cling, to grasp, or to feed upon. It is the glue that binds us to our past, and it is the root cause of our deepest suffering. The nature of this attachment is profoundly paradoxical, because we cling not only to that which gave us pleasure, but also to that which gave us pain. Let us first look at the chains we forge from our sorrows. It seems counterintuitive. Why would anyone willingly hold on to pain, anger, or grief? Why would we choose to carry the heavy, jagged stones of our past hurts? We do this for several subtle, powerful reasons. Firstly, these painful stories give us a strong sense of identity. The narrative of the one who was wronged, or the survivor of a great difficulty, becomes a central pillar of who we believe we are. Our grievances define us. They give us a story to tell ourselves and others, a story that can elicit sympathy, justify our present unhappiness, or give us a sense of righteous purpose. To let go of the pain would mean letting go of a core part of this identity, and the mind can find this terrifying. Who would I be without this story? Secondly, we cling to pain because it is familiar. The landscape of our old sorrows, however bleak, is a known territory. We have walked its paths 1,000 times. We know every twist and turn of the old argument, every shadow in the corner of a painful memory. The future, a future free from this familiar pain, is an unknown land, and the human mind often prefers the certainty of a familiar misery over the uncertainty of a potential peace. Finally, we cling to pain out of a misguided sense of self-protection. We mentally replay a betrayal, believing it will serve as a shield, reminding us not to trust again. We hold onto the sting of a failure, thinking it will prevent us from being so foolish in the future. We are like a soldier who insists on wearing his heavy, cumbersome armor long after the war has ended. The armor does not protect him, it only weighs him down, isolates him from the world, and prevents him from ever feeling the warmth of the sun on his skin. He is a prisoner of his own protection. Imagine a person holding a piece of burning charcoal in their hand. Their palm is seared. The pain is excruciating, and their face is contorted in agony. A wise teacher approaches and asks, "Friend, why don't you simply open your hand and drop the hot coal?" The person, looking at the teacher with eyes full of blame and resentment, cries out, "Because they are the one who forced it upon me. It is their fault that I am in this pain." The teacher waits patiently, and then says again, with immense compassion, "I understand, but you are the one who is still holding it." This is the nature of our attachment to pain. We can spend a lifetime blaming the person or the circumstance that first placed the burning coal in our hand, and our blame may be entirely justified, but the justification does not stop the burning. The pain we feel right now, in this moment, comes from our own clenched fist, from our own refusal to let go. The power to end the searing pain lies not in changing the past, but in the simple, courageous act of opening our hand right now. But it is not only pain that binds us. Perhaps the most deceptive and powerful attachments are the ones we forge from happiness. These are the golden chains. They are beautiful. They shimmer with the light of our most treasured memories, the glow of a past love, the triumph of a great achievement, the carefree laughter of a time that felt perfect. We hold these memories close. We polish them until they gleam. We believe they are our greatest treasures, and yet they are chains all the same, for they too bind us to the past and prevent us from living fully in the present. They cause suffering because they create a constant state of comparison. We look at our present reality and measure it against the idealized, golden memories of yesterday. Our current relationship seems dull compared to the memory of a first love. Our current work feels meaningless compared to the memory of a past success. The present moment can never compete with a perfectly curated highlight reel from the past. And so we live in a state of perpetual dissatisfaction, always feeling that something is missing. These golden chains also breed a deep fear of loss, a fear that our best days are behind us, and that we will never again feel such joy. This fear makes us cling even tighter, turning a beautiful memory into a source of anxiety. There is a story of how hunters in India used to trap monkeys. They would take a coconut or a gourd and drill a hole in it, just large enough for a monkey to slide its open hand inside. They would place a sweet rice cake, a treat the monkeys find irresistible, inside the gourd and tie it securely to a tree. Soon, a monkey would come along, smell the sweet treat, and slip its hand into the gourd. It would grasp the rice cake, clenching its fist around the prize, but now, with its fist clenched, its hand is too large to pull out of the hole. The monkey is trapped. It will pull and shriek and struggle for hours, but it will not be free. All it has to do to escape is to open its hand and let go of the rice cake. But its desire, its attachment to the prize, is so overwhelmingly strong that it cannot bring itself to do it. It becomes a prisoner of its own craving. We are often like that monkey. We clutch the sweet rice cakes of our past, a perfect moment, a success, a lost love, and we are trapped by our own refusal to open our hand. We could be free, here and now, if only we were willing to let go of the prize. But the chain feels so golden, so precious, that we choose the trap. So, to be free is not to become numb or to deny the joys and sorrows of our lives. To let go is not to say that the past did not matter. It is the very opposite. It is to allow yourself to have experienced everything so completely, so fully in its own time, that you no longer need to carry its ghost around with you. It is the wisdom of the old monk who could carry the woman with total presence and compassion, and then set her down with equal presence, unburdened. It is the courage to drop the hot coal of resentment, regardless of who put it there. It is the wisdom to open your hand and release the sweet prize, understanding that true freedom is more valuable than any memory. So take a moment now, in this quiet space, ask yourself gently, what are your chains? What hot coal of anger or regret are you still clutching in your fist, burning your own hand? What old story of victimhood are you wearing like heavy armor? And what about the golden chains? What sweet rice cake from the past are you holding on to so tightly that it keeps you from being free in this present moment? Simply seeing them is the first, most crucial step. You don't need to break them right now. You only need to acknowledge their existence with honesty and courage. Recognizing these chains, feeling their true weight, is the beginning of liberation. The next step is to learn how, gently and with great patience, to begin to open our hand. For this delicate work, we need an anchor, a tool so simple, so reliable, and so profoundly present that it can ground us in the here and now. This tool is not somewhere far away. You do not need to search for it. In fact, it is closer to you than your own skin. It is the gentle, steady, life-giving anchor of your own breath. We have seen the chains that bind us, the heavy, hot coal of past pains, and the beautiful, golden chains of past pleasures. We have felt their weight and understood how our own clinging, our own clenched fist, gives them their power over us. To simply try and break these chains with force would be a struggle, another form of fighting that creates more tension. The path to freedom is gentler. It requires us to find a place of stability first, a sanctuary from which we can do the delicate work of unclenching our hand. We need an anchor in the vast, often stormy ocean of the mind, where the waves of thought and emotion can toss us about relentlessly. An anchor is our greatest treasure. It is the tool that stops us from being helplessly adrift, dragged by the currents of the past or pushed by the winds of the future. We often search for this anchor outside of ourselves. We might anchor ourselves to a person, a job, or a daily distraction, hoping it will provide stability. But these external anchors are unreliable. People leave, jobs change, distractions fade. The true anchor, the one that can never be lost and is available to you in every single moment of your life, is your own breath. This may sound too simple, too ordinary to be the key, but its power lies precisely in its simplicity. The breath has one magical quality: it can only happen in the present moment. You cannot take a breath that is in the past. You cannot take a breath that is in the future. To be aware of your breathing is to be here. Now, it is the most direct and foolproof bridge back home to the present moment. The only place where life is actually happening. The breath is the meeting point of your body and your mind. Your body breathes on its own. Avis, unconscious rhythm that has sustained you from the moment of your birth. Your mind, as we have seen, can wander anywhere in the universe. But when you consciously choose to place your attention on the feeling of your breath, the body and mind are united. They are in the same place, at the same time. This simple act of reunion is profoundly healing. It is a coming home. So, for a moment, let us practice this homecoming. There is nothing you need to do, nothing to fix, and nothing to achieve. You are simply invited to notice the fact that you are breathing. Gently bring your awareness to the subtle, quiet rhythm that is always with you. You might feel the air as a cool sensation at the tip of your nostrils as you breathe in, and a slightly warmer sensation as you breathe out. You don't need to change it or deepen it. Just rest your attention there, feeling the coolness and then the warmth. Or you might prefer to rest your attention on the gentle rise and fall of your abdomen or your chest. As you inhale, feel the gentle expansion, the body making space to receive the breath. As you exhale, feel the soft release, the gentle letting go. Choose one of these spots, the nostrils or the abdomen, and let it be your anchor point. Let your attention rest there as if it were a butterfly landing softly on a flower. There is no need for force or intense concentration, just a light, gentle awareness. Your only task here is not to be a good breather. There is no right or wrong way for your breath to be. Sometimes it will be deep, sometimes shallow, sometimes fast, sometimes slow. It does not matter. Your task is simply to be a kind and patient observer. You are watching the natural tide of your own life force, flowing in and flowing out. Imagine you are sitting by the ocean, watching the waves roll onto the shore and then recede back into the sea. You do not control the waves. You do not judge them for being too big or too small. You simply witness their timeless, soothing rhythm. Your breath is your own personal ocean, your own inner tide, and you are the silent witness on the shore. Now, it is absolutely inevitable that your mind will wander. This is not a mistake or a failure. It is simply the nature of the mind. Like a curious puppy that runs off to sniff a new scent, your mind will drift away from the breath and latch onto a thought, a memory, a sound from the room, or a plan for tomorrow. The practice is not to prevent this from ever happening. The practice lies in what you do the moment you realize it has happened. That moment of realization, the aha moment when you notice, oh, my mind has wandered off, is a golden moment. It is a spark of mindfulness itself. In that moment, you have already woken up, and what do you do then? You do not scold the puppy. You do not get frustrated with yourself. With the utmost gentleness, you simply acknowledge where the mind has gone, thinking, and then you kindly, patiently escort your attention back to your anchor, back to the feeling of the breath. Every time you do this, every time your mind wanders, and you gently bring it back, you are strengthening the muscle of mindfulness. You are carving a new neural pathway in your brain. You are training yourself with deep compassion to come home. It might happen 10 times. It might happen 100 times. It does not matter. Each return is a success. Each gentle escort back to the breath is an act of profound self-care, a repetition that builds your capacity for presence, stability, and peace. You are not fighting your thoughts. You are simply choosing not to follow them. You are letting them be clouds in the sky, while you remain grounded on the earth, anchored by your breath. Think of yourself as the wise and patient gatekeeper of a great city. The city is your mind. The gate is the present moment, and your seat, the stool upon which you sit, is the breath. All day and all night, people come and go through the city gate. These people are your thoughts, your feelings, your sensations. As the gatekeeper, your job is not to block anyone from entering or leaving. It is not your job to interrogate them, to judge them, or to chase after them once they have entered the city. Your job is simply to be aware of who passes by. You remain on your stool, anchored by the breath, and you just notice an anxious thought, like a hurried merchant with a worried expression, rushes through the gate. You don't jump up and run after him to ask what is wrong. You simply notice, anxiety, and you remain on your stool, a beautiful, happy memory, like a laughing child with flowers in her hair. Skips past. You don't grab her and try to make her stay forever. You smile. You notice, joy, and you remain on your stool. A hush, critical thought, like a stern-faced guard, marches by. You don't argue with him or try to prove him wrong. You simply notice, judgment, and you remain on your stool. The gatekeeper's power comes from his stillness. His peace comes from not getting involved in the dramas of the city. He lets everything come, and he lets everything go. He just stays with his breath. This is your practice. You are the gatekeeper. The breath is your seat. This gentle anchor is your refuge. It is always here. When you feel overwhelmed by the past, you can return to the breath. When you are lost in worry about the future, you can return to the breath. It is your home base, a quiet clearing in the dense forest of the mind. It is the tool that allows you to stay present as you begin the work of loosening the chains of attachment. It gives you the stability to finally gently unclench your fist. Now that we have found our anchor, now that we have a place of stability to return to, we can begin to look more closely at the nature of the river of the mind itself, from the safety of the shore, anchored by our breath. What do we see in the ceaseless flow? We see one profound, universal, and liberating truth reflected in every passing wave, every floating leaf, and every shifting current. We see the constant, unending, and beautiful dance of impermanence. We are resting on the shore, our awareness gently anchored to the rhythm of the breath. From this place of stillness, we look out at the river of the mind and see that it is in constant motion, but now we can expand our gaze. We can look beyond the river and see a universal truth reflected in everything, both within us and outside of us. This truth is one of the deepest insights of the world's wisdom traditions. It is the law of impermanence. In the language of the Buddha, it is called anicca. It means simply that everything changes. Nothing is permanent. Nothing stays the same. Look first at the world around you. The solid earth beneath you is not truly solid. Mountains are slowly, imperceptibly, being weathered by wind and rain, rising and falling over eons. The coastlines are constantly being redrawn by the patient work of the ocean. The great constellations in the night sky are shifting, the stars themselves being born and dying in a cosmic dance of unimaginable scale. The seasons turn, one into the next, a reliable and beautiful cycle of birth, growth, decay, and death. A mighty oak tree begins as a tiny acorn. A flower blooms in magnificent color for a few precious days, and then its petals wilt and fall. The world is not a collection of fixed objects. It is a dynamic, unfolding process. It is a verb, not a noun. Now, bring this awareness to your own body. We tend to think of our body as a solid, continuous thing, the same me from day to day. But science confirms the ancient wisdom. Your body is a river of constant change. Billions of cells are dying and being replaced every single day. Your skin replaces itself about once a month. Your skeleton is not the same skeleton you had a decade ago. The air you are breathing in right now becomes a part of you. And the air you breathe out carries parts of you back into the world. Your body is not a static sculpture. It is a flowing pattern. A process that is continuously renewing and rebuilding itself. The body you have in this moment has never existed before and will never exist again in exactly the same way. It is a fleeting, precious event in time. And what of your feelings? Your emotions? Think of the most intense joy you have ever felt. A moment of pure, unadulterated bliss. Where is it now? It arose. It stayed for a time, and then it faded, leaving behind a memory. Now think of the deepest sorrow or anger you have ever experienced. A pain that felt like it would surely last forever. Where is that now? It too arose. It stayed for a time, and then, eventually, its intensity subsided. It changed. Emotions are like the weather. They are atmospheric conditions that pass through the vast, open sky of your awareness. Sometimes there are storm clouds. sometimes brilliant sunshine, sometimes a gentle mist, but the weather always changes. No storm, no matter how fierce, lasts forever. This law of impermanence is the fundamental nature of reality, and here we discover a profound source of our suffering. Suffering arises not from the fact of change itself, but from our resistance to it. Our clinging to the past is a direct struggle against this universal law. When we hold onto a memory of a past happiness, we are trying to freeze one frame of a movie that is always playing. When we hold onto a past hurt, we are refusing to let the river flow, trying to build a dam against the current of time. This resistance is an exhausting and futile battle. It is like trying to hold back the ocean's tide with a bucket. The tide of change will always win. Wisdom does not lie in fighting the flow. Wisdom lies in learning to flow with it. It is about building a boat, not a dam. There is a famous story that beautifully illustrates this journey from resisting impermanence to embracing it. There was a young woman named Kisa Gotami, whose first and only child fell ill and died. Consumed by a grief so powerful, it bordered on madness. She refused to accept that her son was gone. She clutched his small, lifeless body to her chest and went from house to house, from person to person, desperately begging for a medicine that could restore him. Some people turned away from her, thinking she was mad. Others pitied her, but could offer no help. Finally, a wise man saw her profound suffering and directed her to the one person who might have the medicine. She sought the Buddha. Kisa Gotami ran to the Buddha and laid her son at his feet. "Can you help me?" she pleaded. "I am told you are a great physician. Please, give me the medicine that will cure my boy." The Buddha looked at her, his eyes filled with an ocean of compassion. He did not dismiss her or tell her that her wish was impossible. He said to her, "Yes, I can help you, but to make the medicine, I require one special ingredient. I need you to bring me a single mustard seed." Kisa Gotami's heart leaped with hope. A mustard seed, that was easy. But the Buddha continued, "The mustard seed must come from a house where no one has ever lost a child, a husband, a parent, or a friend. It must come from a house that has never been touched by death, filled with renewed purpose." She began her quest. She went to the first house in the village. "The Buddha has sent me for a mustard seed to cure my son. Do you have one?" "Of course," the woman at the door said. But as she was about to give it, Kisa Gotami remembered the condition. "Has anyone in this house ever died?" The woman's face fell. "Oh, my friend," she said sadly. "The living are few, but the dead are many. We lost our beloved father just last year." So Kisa Gotami went to the next house, and the next, and the next. The story was the same at every door. Every family had mustard seeds, but every family had also known loss. One had lost a wife, another a brother, another a child. She heard stories of old age, sickness, and accidents. As the day wore on and she moved through the entire village, a profound transformation began to happen within her. Herr Frantik. Personal grief began to dissolve into a much larger understanding. She realized that her pain was not unique. The loss she felt was not a special punishment visited only upon her. It was a part of the human condition, a sorrow shared by every single person she had met. Death was not an enemy that had singled out her child. It was a universal law, woven into the very fabric of life. With this realization, the frantic clutching in her heart began to soften. She took her son's body to the forest, and finally, she was able to let him go. She returned to the Buddha, not with a mustard seed, but with a quiet, peaceful heart of understanding. She had found the medicine, not for her son, but for herself. The medicine was the wisdom of impermanence. This wisdom is a powerful balm for our own suffering. When we are in the midst of great pain, a heartbreak, a failure, a loss, the understanding that this too shall pass can make the unbearable bearable. It gives us the strength to endure, knowing that no storm lasts forever. The clouds will eventually part. At the same time, this wisdom deepens our appreciation for joy. When we truly understand that everything is fleeting, we stop taking the precious moments of our lives for granted. We can savor the taste of a simple meal, the warmth of a friend's smile, the beauty of a sunset with a new intensity, precisely because we know it is a temporary gift. Impermanence is what makes life so incredibly precious. We see now, from our quiet spot on the riverbank, that everything around us and within us is in a state of constant flux. Our bodies, our thoughts, our feelings, the world itself, all of it is participating in this beautiful and relentless dance of change. This observation, once it truly sinks in, naturally leads to a profound and perhaps unsettling question. If everything I experience is changing, if everything I might identify with is impermanent, then who or what am I? What is this self that seems to be experiencing all this joy and sorrow? If the river of my experience is always changing, what about the witness on the bank? This inquiry takes us even deeper, right into the heart of the illusion of a fixed and separate self. We have journeyed together to the riverbank of the mind, anchored by the breath, and we have watched the universal dance of impermanence. We have seen that everything we can perceive, our world, our bodies, our thoughts, our feelings, is in a state of constant, unrelenting flow. This deep seeing leads us to the most fundamental question of all. Who am I? If everything is changing, what is the unchanging me that is experiencing it all? We carry within us a powerful, instinctual sense of a solid self. It feels as if there is a chief executive sitting in the headquarters of our head, a driver behind the wheel of our body, a central commander who is the permanent owner of our experiences. We spend so much of our life energy protecting and defending this self, polishing its reputation, nursing its wounds, and promoting its agenda. This endless work of self-maintenance is the source of so much of our tension and anxiety. But what if, on closer inspection, we discover that this fixed, solid self cannot be found? What if I is not a thing, but a process? This is the insight of anatta, or no self. This is not a frightening idea of annihilation, but a profoundly liberating truth that can unburden us from our heaviest load. To understand this, Let us look for this self we believe in so strongly. The ancient teachings invite us to investigate our experience by looking at it as a combination of 5 flowing streams, known as the 5 aggregates or skandhas. If a self exists, it must be found in one of these streams, or as a combination of them. The first stream is the body, or form. Is this body me? It seems so at first. But which body? The body of a baby, a child, a teenager, an adult, an elder. My body is constantly changing, made of elements borrowed from the earth, the food I have eaten, the water I have drunk, the air I have breathed. It is a process, not a permanent entity. So the self cannot be the body. The second stream is feeling or sensation. These are the raw feelings of pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral that arise when we contact the world. Are you your feelings? If you identify with happiness, where do you go when sadness arrives? If you are your pain, what happens when the pain subsides? Feelings are like the weather, constantly changing. They are visitors, not the owner of the house. So the self cannot be our feelings. The third stream is perception. This is the faculty of the mind that recognizes, labels, and categorizes everything: blue sky, loud noise, good person, bad situation. Our perceptions are learned from our culture, our family, our experiences. They are not absolute truths, and they can change. What you once perceived as desirable, you may now perceive as uninteresting. The self cannot be found in these shifting labels. The fourth stream is mental formations. This is a vast category that includes all our thoughts, our habits, our biases, our intentions, our moods, our opinions, and our beliefs. This is where we often locate our identity. I am a creative person. I am not good at math. I am an anxious person. But are these states permanent? Are you creative in every moment? Do you never have a single logical thought? Are you anxious, even in your deepest sleep? These are just temporary patterns of mental energy. Habits of the mind. They are not a solid, unchanging essence. They are more like well-worn paths in the forest of the mind, not the forest itself. Finally, the fifth stream is consciousness. This is the raw capacity of awareness itself, seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, and thinking. But this consciousness is also not a single, monolithic thing. Seeing consciousness depends on having eyes and an object to see. Hearing consciousness depends on having ears and a sound. It flickers on and off, arising and ceasing with each moment of experience. It is entirely dependent on conditions. It is not an independent, abiding self. So we look through these 5 streams of experience: our body, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness, and we cannot find a separate, permanent, independent I anywhere. The self we feel so certain of is like a rainbow. A rainbow is a beautiful phenomenon that appears when there is sunlight and rain in the air. At the same time, it is real. You can see it, but you cannot go to the end of it and find a pot of gold. You cannot grasp it. The self is like that. It is a phenomenon that arises when these 5 processes come together in a certain way. It is a convenient label, a useful concept for navigating the world, but not an ultimate reality. There is a legendary dialogue that took place between a powerful Greco-Bactrian king, Milinda, and a humble Buddhist sage named Nagasena. King Milinda was a brilliant debater, a man of sharp logic, and he wished to test the wisdom of the famous sage. He arrived in his royal chariot and approached Nagasena. After the initial greetings, the king asked, "Venerable sir, what is your name?" Nagasena replied, "I am known as Nagasena, your Majesty. But this is just a designation, a name in common use, for in the ultimate sense, there is no permanent person or soul to be found here." The king, ever the logician, smiled. "No person to be found. That is very interesting." He then pointed to the magnificent chariot he had arrived in. "Venerable sir, what is this?" "It is a chariot, your Majesty." "Excellent," said the king. "Then please tell me, is the chariot the wheels?" Nagasena replied. "No, your Majesty." The king continued, "Is the chariot then the axle, or the frame, or the yoke, or the reins?" To each question, Nagasena calmly answered, "No, your Majesty." The king then leaned in, thinking he had trapped the sage in a contradiction. Then, "Sire, if the chariot is none of these individual parts, there is no such thing as a chariot. You are speaking a falsehood." The sage Nagasena remained perfectly calm. He did not argue. He simply asked the king, "Your Majesty, you are a great king, accustomed to luxury. How did you arrive here today? Did you walk?" "Certainly not." The king replied, "I came in my chariot." Nagasena's eyes twinkled. "You say you came in a chariot, but you have just agreed that the wheels are not the chariot. The axle is not the chariot, and the frame is not the chariot. Then what, your Majesty, is this chariot in that moment?" The king understood. He realized that the word chariot is just a name, a concept that we use when all the individual parts, the wheels, the axle, the frame are assembled and working together in a particular way. The chariot has no separate, independent existence apart from its components. It is a whole that is dependent on its parts, and the parts are only a chariot when they are together. Nagasena then explained, "Just as the word chariot is a designation for the collection of parts, so the name Nagasena is a designation for the collection of the 5 aggregates. In ultimate reality, there is no chariot, and in ultimate reality, there is no Nagasena. This understanding is the key that unlocks the prison of the self. If I am not a fixed, separate thing, then I am not permanently trapped in the version of myself that existed yesterday. The me who made a mistake, who felt shame, who was hurt, that combination of body, feelings, and thoughts has already ceased, replaced by the combination that is here now. This means that genuine change is always possible. We are not defined by our past. To let go of the past is, in a very real sense, to let go of an old version of I that no longer exists. This is not annihilation. It is liberation. It is the freedom from having to defend a fragile ego, the relief from carrying the heavy burden of a fixed identity. When we truly begin to see this, the whole world changes. The rigid boundary between me and you starts to become soft and permeable. The desperate need to protect me and my interests against them and their interests begins to seem less urgent. When we see that our very existence is relational, a temporary pattern in a vast, interconnected web, the fortress we have built around our heart begins to seem unnecessary. Its walls can begin to dissolve. And when the walls come down, the heart is finally free to do what it does most naturally. It can begin to radiate a warmth, a kindness that flows outward without needing a reason, without condition or agenda. This natural warmth of the liberated heart has a name. It is known as metta, or loving kindness. We have stood at the edge of a profound mystery. We have looked for the solid, separate self we believed ourselves to be, and we could not find it. We discovered that the I we work so hard to defend is not a fortress, but a flowing river, a temporary gathering of changing processes, interconnected with everything. This insight is like a key unlocking a door we never knew was there. As the walls of the small, defended self begin to dissolve, our vast, open space is revealed. And this space is not cold or empty. It is filled with a natural warmth, a quiet tenderness that has been there all along, buried under the rubble of our fears and our identities. This is the natural radiance of the unobscured heart. The practice of cultivating this warmth, of intentionally fanning this gentle flame, is called metta, or loving kindness. Metta is the simple, unconditional wish for well-being, for ourselves and for all others. It is not a romantic love, nor is it a conditional affection that depends on someone behaving a certain way. It is a fundamental benevolence, a gentle friendliness towards existence itself. It is like a soft spring rain falling upon the hard, dry ground of the heart, allowing the soil to soften and become receptive again. It is the antidote to the poisons of anger, resentment, and ill will that we have carried for so long. It is the practice that begins to melt the golden chains of attachment and loosen our grip on the hot coal of old grievances. This practice, however, must begin in a place that we often find the most difficult to access with ourselves. For lifetimes, we may have been taught that focusing on our own well-being is selfish. But this is a profound misunderstanding. You cannot pour water from an empty cup. You cannot offer true warmth to others if your own heart is frozen. In every airplane safety demonstration, we are told to put on our own oxygen mask first before assisting others. This is not selfishness, it is wisdom. If you run out of oxygen, you are no help to anyone. Loving kindness works the same way. It must begin with the radical act of offering kindness to the person you have spent your entire life with yourself. So, let us begin this gentle practice now. Find a posture that feels comfortable and settled. Let your body be soft, and bring your awareness gently to the area around your heart, in the center of your chest. You don't need to force anything. You might imagine a small, warm, golden light in that space, or perhaps the image of a flower bud waiting to open. And then, with a silent, internal voice, we will offer ourselves a few simple, powerful phrases. Choose the words that resonate most deeply with you. Let them be a gift you offer to yourself. Let us begin. Silently, gently. Repeat these wishes for your own being. May I be safe. Feel the intention behind these words. The wish to be safe from harm, both outer and inner. The wish to be protected and secure. May I be safe. May I be healthy. The sincere wish for a body that is strong and free from illness. The wish for a mind that is sound and resilient. May I be healthy. May I be happy. The simple, honest wish to experience joy, to feel contentment and well-being in your heart. A happiness that is not dependent on anything external. May I be happy. May I live with ease. The wish to move through the world with less struggle, less stress, less tension. The wish for a life of peace and gracefulness. May I live with ease. Just continue to gently repeat these phrases, or whichever ones feel right for you. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I be happy. May I live with ease. As you say them, you may not feel a dramatic rush of emotion. You might even feel nothing at all, or a sense of awkwardness. That is perfectly all right. Do not judge your experience. The practice is not about forcing a feeling. The practice is the gentle, patient repetition of the intention. You are planting seeds in the soil of your heart. With time and repetition, they will grow. You are simply offering yourself the kindness you so freely offer to others. You are worthy of your own care. You are worthy of your own love. Now, keeping this feeling of warmth in your own heart, let us expand the circle. Bring to mind someone whom you love easily and without complication. It could be a dear friend, a family member, a mentor, or even a beloved pet. Picture them in your mind's eye. See them smiling and happy. Feel the natural warmth that arises when you think of them. And now, direct the flow of loving kindness from your heart to theirs. Hold their image in your awareness and offer them the same wishes. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you live with ease. Imagine the golden light from your heart extending to them, surrounding them, enveloping them in these wishes of well-being. Feel the joy in offering this gift of kindness, a gift that costs you nothing and yet is utterly priceless. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you live with ease. Let us now expand the circle of loving kindness once more. This time, bring to mind a neutral person. This is someone you see in your daily life, but for whom you feel neither strong like nor dislike. It could be the person who checks out your groceries, the mail carrier, a neighbor you simply nod to. We so often walk past these people without truly seeing them as a full human being with their own hopes and fears. Bring their face to your mind and recognize that this person, just like you, wishes to be happy, just like you. They wish to be free from suffering, and so offer them the same sincere wishes. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you live with ease. Notice how this practice stretches your heart, helping you to see the shared humanity in those you might normally overlook. It breaks down the walls of indifference and connects you to the world in a new way. And now, we come to the most healing and sometimes the most challenging part of this practice. We will expand the circle to include a difficult person. When we do this, it is wise to start with someone who is only mildly irritating, not the person who has caused you the deepest pain. This is a practice, and we are building a muscle. We start with the lighter weights first. Bring this person to mind and understand this crucial point. This practice is not for them. It is for you. It is not about condoning their harmful actions or forcing yourself to like them. It is about freeing your own heart from the prison of resentment. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to be harmed. Metta is the antidote that you drink yourself for your own healing. So, as best you can, hold this person's image in your awareness and see them as a suffering being, perhaps acting out of their own pain and confusion, and offer them the phrases, "May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you live with ease." If this feels too difficult, you can change the phrases. You might simply wish, "May you be free from the suffering that causes you to harm yourself and others." Or simply, "I wish you well." The goal is not to force a feeling, but to be willing to include even this person in the circle of your care, for the sake of your own freedom. Finally, let the circle become boundless. Let the loving kindness flow out from your heart in all directions. To your friends, your neutral people, your difficult people. Extend it to everyone in your city, your country, to all people on this earth, to all the animals, the creatures in the sea, the birds in the air, to all beings, seen and unseen, near and far, in all realms of existence. May all beings be safe. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be happy. May all beings live with ease. This boundless, unconditional well-wishing is like the sun. The sun shines its light and warmth on everything below without discrimination. It shines on the beautiful rose garden and on the thorny, tangled weeds. It shines on the saint and on the thief. The sun does not choose who is worthy of its warmth. Its very nature is to radiate. When your heart is filled with metta, it becomes like that sun, shining a benevolent warmth on all of life. Without exception, this practice of wishing happiness for all beings is a profound and gentle medicine for the heart. It softens our sharp edges and heals the old wounds of resentment. But as we open our hearts in this way, we inevitably encounter not just the potential for happiness in others, but also their very real and present suffering. When our open heart meets the pain of the world, a new quality arises. It is a quality that is both exquisitely tender and incredibly strong. It is the courageous and heartfelt response to suffering. It is the quality of compassion. We have stood at the edge of a profound mystery. We have looked for the solid, separate self we believed ourselves to be, and we could not find it. We discovered that the I we work so hard to defend is not a fortress, but a flowing river, a temporary gathering of changing processes, interconnected with everything. This insight is like a key unlocking a door we never knew was there. As the walls of the small, defended self begin to dissolve, a vast, open space is revealed. And this space is not cold or empty. It is filled with a natural warmth, a quiet tenderness that has been there all along, buried under the rubble of our fears and our identities. This is the natural radiance of the unobscured heart. The practice of cultivating this warmth, of intentionally fanning this gentle flame, is called metta, or loving kindness. Metta is the simple, unconditional wish for well-being, for ourselves and for all others. It is not a romantic love, nor is it a conditional affection that depends on someone behaving a certain way. It is a fundamental benevolence, a gentle friendliness towards existence itself. It is like a soft spring rain falling upon the hard, dry ground of the heart, allowing the soil to soften and become receptive again. It is the antidote to the poisons of anger, resentment, and ill will that we have carried for so long. It is the practice that begins to melt the golden chains of attachment and loosen our grip on the hot coal of old grievances. This practice, however, must begin in a place that we often find the most difficult to access with ourselves. For lifetimes, we may have been taught that focusing on our own well-being is selfish, but this is a profound misunderstanding. You cannot pour water from an empty cup. You cannot offer true warmth to others if your own heart is frozen. In every airplane safety demonstration, we are told to put on our own oxygen mask first before assisting others. This is not selfishness, it is wisdom. If you run out of oxygen, you are no help to anyone. Loving kindness works the same way. It must begin with the radical act of offering kindness to the person you have spent your entire life with yourself. So, let us begin this gentle practice now. Find a posture that feels comfortable and settled. Let your body be soft, and bring your awareness gently to the area around your heart. In the center of your chest, you don't need to force anything. You might imagine a small, warm, golden light in that space, or perhaps the image of a flower bud waiting to open, and then, with a silent, internal voice, we will offer ourselves a few simple, powerful phrases. Choose the words that resonate most deeply with you. Let them be a gift you offer to yourself. Let us begin. Silently, gently, repeat these wishes for your own being. May I be safe. Feel the intention behind these words, the wish to be safe from harm, both outer and inner, the wish to be protected and secure. May I be safe. May I be healthy. The sincere wish for a body that is strong and free from illness. The wish for a mind that is sound and resilient. May I be healthy. May I be happy. The simple, honest wish to experience joy, to feel contentment and well-being in your heart, a happiness that is not dependent on anything external. May I be happy. May I live with ease. The wish to move through the world with less struggle, less stress, less tension. The wish for a life of peace and gracefulness. May I live with ease. Just continue to gently repeat these phrases, or whichever ones feel right for you. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I be happy. May I live with ease. As you say them, You may not feel a dramatic rush of emotion. You might even feel nothing at all, or a sense of awkwardness. That is perfectly all right. Do not judge your experience. The practice is not about forcing a feeling. The practice is the gentle, patient repetition of the intention. You are planting seeds in the soil of your heart. With time and repetition, they will grow. You are simply offering yourself the kindness you so freely offer to others. You are worthy of your own care. You are worthy of your own love. Now, keeping this feeling of warmth in your own heart, let us expand the circle. Bring to mind someone whom you love easily and without complication. It could be a dear friend, a family member, a mentor, or even a beloved pet. Picture them in your mind's eye. See them smiling and happy. Feel the natural warmth that arises when you think of them. And now, direct the flow of loving kindness from your heart to theirs. Hold their image in your awareness and offer them the same wishes. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you live with ease. Imagine the golden light from your heart extending to them, surrounding them, enveloping them in these wishes of well-being. Feel the joy in offering this gift of kindness, a gift that costs you nothing and yet is utterly priceless. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you live with ease. Let us now expand the circle of loving kindness once more. This time, bring to mind a neutral person. This is someone you see in your daily life, but for whom you feel neither strong like nor dislike. It could be the person who checks out your groceries, the mail carrier, a neighbor you simply nod to. We so often walk past these people without truly seeing them as a full human being with their own hopes and fears. Bring their face to your mind and recognize that this person, just like you, wishes to be happy. Just like you, they wish to be free from suffering. And so, offer them the same sincere wishes. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you live with ease. Notice how this practice stretches your heart, helping you to see the shared humanity in those you might normally overlook. It breaks down the walls of indifference and connects you to the world in a new way. And now, we come to the most healing and sometimes the most challenging part of this practice. We will expand the circle to include a difficult person. When we do this, it is wise to start with someone who is only mildly irritating, not the person who has caused you the deepest pain. This is a practice, and we are building a muscle. We start with the lighter weights first. Bring this person to mind and understand this crucial point. This practice is not for them. It is for you. It is not about condoning their harmful actions or forcing yourself to like them. It is about freeing your own heart from the prison of resentment. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to be harmed. Metta is the antidote that you drink yourself for your own healing. So, as best you can, hold this person's image in your awareness and see them as a suffering being, perhaps acting out of their own pain and confusion, and offer them the phrases, "May you be safe, may you be healthy, may you be happy, may you live with ease." If this feels too difficult, you can change the phrases. You might simply wish, May you be free from the suffering that causes you to harm yourself and others. Or simply, I wish you well. The goal is not to force a feeling, but to be willing to include even this person in the circle of your care, for the sake of your own freedom. Finally, let the circle become boundless. Let the loving kindness flow out from your heart in all directions. To your friends, your neutral people, your difficult people, extend it to everyone in your city, your country, to all people on this earth, to all the animals, the creatures in the sea, the birds in the air, to all beings, seen and unseen, near and far, in all realms of existence. May all beings be safe. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be happy. May all beings live with ease. This boundless, unconditional well-wishing is like the sun. The sun shines its light and warmth on everything below without discrimination. It shines on the beautiful rose garden and on the thorny, tangled weeds. It shines on the saint and on the thief. The sun does not choose who is worthy of its warmth. Its very nature is to radiate. When your heart is filled with metta, it becomes like that sun, shining a benevolent warmth on all of life. Without exception, this practice of wishing happiness for all beings is a profound and gentle medicine for the heart. It softens our sharp edges and heals the old wounds of resentment. But as we open our hearts in this way, we inevitably encounter not just the potential for happiness in others, but also their very real and present suffering. When our open heart meets the pain of the world, a new quality arises. It is a quality that is both exquisitely tender and incredibly strong. It is the courageous and heartfelt response to suffering. It is the quality of compassion. Our hearts have opened with the gentle warmth of loving kindness, wishing happiness for all. They have trembled with the courageous energy of compassion, wishing for all beings to be free from suffering. The heart that has been tilled by these two powerful qualities becomes vast, resilient, and deeply connected to the world. But there is a third quality, a sister to love and compassion, that brings a sparkling lightness and a sense of profound abundance to our lives. It is the beautiful and often neglected practice of mudita, which can be translated as sympathetic or appreciative joy. It is the ability to feel genuine happiness in the happiness and good fortune of others. If loving kindness is the sun's warmth and compassion is the gentle rain, then sympathetic joy is the clear, blue sky that allows both to be fully appreciated. It is the heart's ability to celebrate, to delight in the successes, the joys, and the simple luck of another being. It is a joy that is unselfish, a happiness that is not contingent on our own circumstances. It is the feeling of a genuine smile spreading across your face when you hear good news about a friend. It is the warmth in your chest when you see a child laughing with pure delight. It is the quiet appreciation you feel when you witness an act of kindness between strangers. To truly understand the luminous quality of mudita, we must first be honest about its shadow, a feeling that is all too familiar to the human heart, the feeling of envy. Envy is the painful contraction we feel when we are confronted with the good fortune of another. It is the tightness in the chest, the sour thought, the subtle wish that they didn't have what they have. It whispers poisonous questions in our ear. Why them and not me? I deserved that more than they did. Their success makes my failure feel even greater. Envy arises from a deep-seated belief in scarcity. It operates from the painful illusion that happiness is a limited resource. A pie with only so many slices. If someone else gets a large slice, it must mean there is less available for us. This painful habit of comparison is deeply connected to our attachment to the past. When we feel envy, we are often looking backwards, measuring our own life's trajectory against someone else's. We dredge up our own past efforts, our own struggles, our own disappointments, and we hold them up against the other person's apparent success. This act of comparison chains us to our own stories of inadequacy and unfairness. It reinforces the narrative of a self that is lacking, a self that has been left behind. Envy is a lonely prison. It isolates us. It makes us bitter. And it prevents us from connecting with the very people whose joy could be a source of inspiration and happiness for us. Mudita, sympathetic joy, is the key that unlocks the door of this prison. It is the radical recognition that joy is not a limited resource. It is infinite. The happiness of another does not diminish the potential for our own happiness. In fact, by learning to share in it, we instantly multiply the amount of joy available to us. 1,000 candles can be lit from a single candle, and the life of the single candle is not shortened. Happiness is not diminished by being shared. So let us practice cultivating this light and spacious quality. Let us begin. As always, where it is easiest, bring to mind a person whom you love dearly and whose happiness truly matters to you. A close friend, a sibling, a child, or a partner. Now, think of something genuinely good that has happened to them recently. Perhaps they achieved a long sought-after goal. Perhaps they fell in love. Perhaps they simply had a wonderful day and shared it with you. Hold the image of their happy face in your mind. See their smile. Hear their laughter. And as you do, allow your own heart to share in that joy. Let us use a few simple phrases to water this seed of mudita. My friend, I am so happy for you. Let this be a genuine statement. Feel the sincerity in the wish for their happiness to be full and complete. Your happiness is my happiness. May your joy and good fortune continue. May your happiness increase and never fade. Feel the physical sensation that accompanies this practice. You might feel a lightness in your chest, a warmth spreading through you, a natural smile forming on your lips. This is the expansive, open-hearted feeling of mudita. It is the direct opposite of the tight, painful contraction of envy. It feels wonderful because it is an expression of our true, interconnected nature. Let yourself bask in this shared joy for a few moments. We can then practice expanding this. We can think of an acquaintance, someone we know but are not particularly close to, and we can practice rejoicing in their small, everyday happiness. We might see a neighbor tending their beautiful garden with a look of contentment, and we can silently wish, I'm happy that you have this joy. We can even, with great practice, begin to feel a flicker of sympathetic joy for a difficult person. Perhaps they have found some peace. Can we be happy about that, knowing that a person who is at peace is far less likely to cause suffering to themselves or to others? This is a high practice, but it shows the boundless potential of the heart. There is a beautiful image for this selfless joy. Imagine a master craftswoman, a potter who has spent her entire life perfecting her art. She has won awards, her work is famous, and her skill is legendary. She has a daughter, whom she teaches everything she knows. She shares all her secrets, all her techniques, all her wisdom. The daughter, blessed with a natural talent and a deep love for the craft, absorbs it all. And then, one day, the daughter begins to create works that are even more beautiful, even more sublime than the mother's. Her forms are more graceful, her glazes more luminous. Some might expect the mother to feel a pang of envy, the sting of being surpassed, but the master craftswoman feels only a boundless, overwhelming joy. She looks at her daughter's creations not as a challenge to her own legacy, but as the ultimate fulfillment of it. Her knowledge has not just been passed on, it has been transformed into something even more wonderful. Her child's success is her success. Her heart does not contract with the ego's need to be the best. It expands with a pure, selfless, and ecstatic pride. This is the heart of mudita. By practicing this, by learning to delight in the good fortune we see around us, we create a profoundly positive and healing environment within our own mind. We shift from a mindset of lack and comparison to one of abundance and celebration. This joyous inner state is the most fertile ground for our own happiness and well-being to blossom. We have now explored three beautiful qualities of the open heart: loving kindness. Metta is the benevolent wish for all beings to be happy. Compassion, karuna, is the courageous wish for all beings to be free from suffering. And sympathetic joy, mudita, is the selfless delight in the happiness and good fortune of all beings. These three qualities are like three magnificent pillars that support a life of grace and connection. But for these pillars to stand firm through all the winds of change, through life's inevitable ups and downs, they need a solid, unwavering, and unshakable foundation. This foundation, this fourth and final quality that brings a profound balance and a spacious wisdom to the open heart, is the great protector known as equanimity. We have walked the beautiful path of the open heart. We have warmed it with the unconditional friendliness of loving kindness, metta. We have allowed it to tremble with the courageous, active empathy of compassion, karuna. We have felt it expand with the light and selfless celebration of sympathetic joy, mudita. A heart that is alive with these three qualities is a beautiful, sensitive, and deeply feeling heart. It is connected to the world, responsive to both its joys and its sorrows. Yet, a heart that is only sensitive can be easily overwhelmed. A love that is not grounded in wisdom can become attachment. A compassion that is not balanced by wisdom can lead to burnout and despair. A joy that is not stabilized by wisdom can be flighty and unreliable. These three beautiful pillars need a firm, unshakable foundation upon which to rest. This foundation is the fourth and culminating quality of a liberated heart. It is known as upekkha, or equanimity. Equanimity is the quality of profound balance, stability, and spaciousness. It is the calm, unwavering center in the midst of life's storms. It is the peace that surpasses all understanding, a quiet confidence in the face of the ever-changing nature of existence. It is often misunderstood. However, its near enemy, the quality that looks similar but is subtly different, is indifference. Indifference is a state of withdrawal, of closing down the heart. It is apathy, a cold detachment that says, "I don't care." Equanimity is the very opposite. It is not about caring less. It is about caring so deeply and so wisely that your heart is vast enough to hold all of life's experiences without being thrown off balance. Life constantly blows upon us with what are known as the 8 worldly winds. These are the unavoidable pairs of opposites that define the human experience: pleasure and pain, gain and loss, praise and blame, fame and disrepute. A mind without equanimity is like a small boat tossed about helplessly by these winds. When the wind of praise blows, we are lifted high on a wave of elation. When the wind of blame follows, we are plunged into a trough of despair. We are elated by gain, crushed by loss. We are addicted to pleasure and terrified of pain. We spend our lives chasing the favorable winds and running from the unfavorable ones, a state of constant, exhausting agitation. Equanimity is the deep, heavy anchor that keeps the boat steady. No matter which way the wind is blowing, the equanimous mind can experience pleasure without clinging to it. It can experience pain without resisting it. It can receive praise without becoming arrogant, and receive blame without collapsing in shame. It does not mean you don't feel these things. It means you feel them within a vast, calm space of awareness that is larger than the feeling itself. But where does this profound stability come from? It does not come from sheer willpower or gritting your teeth. Equanimity is not a state of suppression. It is a natural fruit of wisdom. Specifically, it arises from the deep, embodied understanding of the truths we have already explored. It is rooted in the wisdom of impermanence. Anicca, when you know, not just as an idea but in your bones, that everything changes, you stop clinging so tightly. Why become overly attached to praise? It is just a fleeting sound, a temporary thought in another's mind that will soon be gone. Why be devastated by blame? It too is impermanent. A passing cloud. The wisdom of impermanence allows you to hold all experiences lightly. Equanimity is also rooted in the wisdom of no self. Anatta. When you see that there is no fixed, solid, separate self to protect and defend, the 8 worldly winds lose their target. Who exactly is being praised? Who is being blamed when praise comes? You can appreciate it as a pleasant experience, without it inflating a non-existent ego. When blame comes, you can examine it for any truth it may hold without feeling that your core being is under attack. It is just wind blowing through an open, empty doorway. There is nothing solid for it to stick to. This wisdom is what gives equanimity its unshakable and fearless quality. Let us cultivate this feeling of stability with a meditation. Imagine in your mind's eye a great and majestic mountain. See its peak reaching high into the sky. Its slopes covered in ancient forests. Its base rooted deep within the Earth's crust. It is the very image of solid, stable, unshakable presence. This mountain has been sitting here for millions of years, through countless seasons, witnessing everything. Now, imagine the changing weather that this mountain experiences. A brilliant summer sun beats down, warming its granite face. The mountain simply sits, impassive, accepting the warmth. Violent autumn winds howl and shriek around its peak, trying to push it over. The mountain remains completely still, allowing the wind to blow past. The heavy snows of winter fall, blanketing the mountain in a thick, cold silence. The mountain sits, undisturbed, wearing the snow like a quiet cloak. Gentle spring rains wash its slopes, and wildflowers burst forth at its base in a riot of color. The mountain simply sits, accepting the beauty without clinging to it. Fierce thunderstorms crash all around it, with blinding lightning and deafening thunder. The mountain is not afraid. It is not shaken. It just is. Now, begin to feel that you are this mountain. Allow your body sitting here to take on the quality of a mountain stability. Your head is the lofty, snow-capped peak. Your shoulders and arms are the slopes. Your spine is the strong, unshakable core. And your seat is the solid base, rooted deep in the earth. You are the mountain, and the changing events of your life are the weather. The pleasant warmth of praise shines upon you. You sit just like the mountain. The cold winds of blame blow against you. You remain steady. The heavy snow of loss or sadness falls upon you. You can hold it with a quiet, powerful stillness. The beautiful flowers of joy and success bloom around you. You can appreciate their beauty without needing to grasp them. You are the mountain. The weather of your life is constantly changing, but your core of awareness, your deep, essential being, can remain as calm and as stable as this ancient mountain. Breathe in and feel your mountain-like stability. Breathe out and let the weather of your life simply pass by. This is equanimity. It is this quality that allows us to look back at our past with true peace. We no longer need to categorize our memories as good or bad. We can see them simply as what happened, a landscape we have traveled through, without the extra, exhausting layer of our approval or disapproval. It is also this quality that truly liberates our love. With equanimity as our foundation, our loving kindness is no longer a desperate plea for a certain outcome. Our compassion no longer risks drowning in another's pain. Our sympathetic joy is no longer tinged with the shadow of comparison. We can love freely, care deeply, and celebrate fully, because our own well-being is no longer dependent on the outcome. Our heart is finally free to give its gifts without condition, with the warmth of loving kindness, the courage of compassion, the lightness of sympathetic joy, and the profound stability of equanimity. We have cultivated the 4 great divine abodes, the complete architecture of a liberated heart. This is our inner sanctuary, our true home. Now, with a heart that has been so thoroughly prepared, we are ready. We no longer need to run from the turmoil of our own minds. We have cultivated the inner resources, the strength, the tenderness, and the wisdom to finally turn inward and meet our most challenging experiences. We are now ready to befriend our inner storms. We have arrived at a place of profound inner resourcefulness. We have built a sanctuary within our own heart, a home with 4 beautiful chambers, the warmth of loving kindness, the courage of compassion, the lightness of sympathetic joy, and the unshakable stability of equanimity. Resting in this sanctuary, we no longer need to fear the parts of ourselves that we once found so difficult. We can finally turn towards our inner world, not with dread, but with a gentle, friendly curiosity. For most of our lives, we have been conditioned to treat our difficult emotions as enemies. Anger is a fire to be extinguished. Fear is a monster to be slain. Sadness is a pit to be climbed out of as quickly as possible. We fight them. We suppress them. We numb them. We distract ourselves from them. Or we act them out blindly, causing harm to ourselves and others. But what if this entire approach is based on a misunderstanding? What if these powerful emotions are not enemies at all? What if they are simply messengers, delivering vital information about our inner world? Imagine your anger is a loyal guard, trying to tell you that a precious boundary has been violated. Imagine your fear is a wise scout, pointing to an area where you feel vulnerable and unprotected. Imagine your sadness is a tender friend, showing you where you have loved deeply, or where there is a profound need for connection that has gone unmet. If we are constantly at war with these messengers, we never get to hear their important news. The practice of mindfulness invites us to change this relationship entirely. Instead of going to war, we can learn to open the door, invite these messengers in, and listen with compassion to what they have come to tell us. This is the art of befriending your inner storms. To help us do this, we can use a beautiful and powerful practice, a sequence of mindful attention known by the acronym RAIN. RAIN stands for recognize, allow, investigate, and nurture. It is a lifeline in moments of emotional turmoil, a way to bring wisdom and compassion directly to our pain. Let us walk through this practice together. The first step is to bring to mind a situation in your life that is currently causing you some difficulty. It is wise to start with something only mildly or moderately challenging, not the biggest storm of your life. We are learning a new skill, so we begin with a smaller wave. As you bring this situation to mind, allow yourself to feel the difficult emotion that comes with it. Perhaps it is anxiety, irritation, disappointment, or sadness. The first step of RAIN is our recognize. You simply recognize what is happening inside you. You name the primary emotion silently to yourself. Anxiety is here. Or, this is what sadness feels like. I see you. Frustration. This simple act of naming is incredibly powerful. It immediately creates a little space. You are no longer completely lost inside the emotion. You are the one who is seeing it. You have already shifted from being the storm to being the sky that holds the storm. There is no judgment in this recognition. It is a simple, factual acknowledgement of what is present in your inner landscape. The second step is allow. This is perhaps the most radical step. You give the feeling permission to be there. You let go of the war. You stop struggling against it, pushing it away. or wishing it were different. Just for this moment, you allow the feeling to exist. You can say to it silently, "You have a right to be here," or "I make space for you." Allowing does not mean you like the feeling. It does not mean you agree with the story. It is telling you. It simply means you are ceasing your resistance to what is already present. So much of our suffering comes not from the primary emotion itself, but from the secondary layer of suffering we add by fighting it. When we allow, we let go of that struggle, and a profound sense of relief can begin to emerge. The storm may still be raging, but you have stopped trying to hold it back with your bare hands. The third and most intimate step is I investigate. Now that you have allowed the emotion to be present, you can turn towards it with a gentle, non-judgmental curiosity. This is not a cold, mental analysis. It is a heartfelt inquiry. You are asking the messenger, "What have you come to tell me?" You can explore this by bringing your attention into your body. Ask yourself, where do I feel this emotion most strongly? Is it a tightness in my throat, a burning in my chest, a hollow feeling in my stomach? Simply feel the raw physical sensations without needing to change them. Then you can ask the feeling other gentle questions. What do you believe? What is the story you are telling me about myself or the world? What do you most need right now? What are you asking for? You are listening with the ear of your heart, trying to understand the deeper message beneath the surface of the emotion. The fourth and final step is nurture. After you have listened with compassion, you offer compassion. This is where you actively bring kindness to the wounded part of yourself. You can place a hand over your heart, or wherever you feel the sensation most strongly, and offer yourself a soothing touch. You can offer words of kindness and care, just as you would to a beloved friend who was suffering. "I'm so sorry. This is so painful. I am here for you. You are not alone in this. It's okay. I will take care of you." You are bringing the warmth of metta and the tenderness of karuna directly to your own suffering. You are becoming your own healer, your own loving parent. The great spiritual teacher Thich Nhat Hanh offered a perfect analogy for this process. He taught that our difficult emotions, especially our anger, are like a crying baby. When a baby begins to cry, a good mother does not ignore the baby, and she certainly does not get angry and yell at the baby to be quiet. That would be cruel and would only make the baby cry louder. The first thing a good mother does is to mindfully go to the baby and pick it up. She holds it with great tenderness. This act of holding, of presence, is the first step of healing. This is our practice of recognizing and allowing we pick up our own inner crying baby. Then, while holding the baby, the mother looks deeply to understand what is wrong. She investigates. Is the baby hungry? Is its diaper wet? Is it cold? Or perhaps frightened by a loud noise? She listens with all of her being to understand the cause of the baby's suffering. This is our practice of investigation. Finally, having understood what is needed, she nurtures the baby. She feeds it. She changes it. She sings to it. She soothes it. This is our practice of nurture. Our anger, our fear, our sorrow, these are our babies inside. They are not our enemies. They are vulnerable parts of us crying out for our mindful attention, for our compassionate presence, and for our loving care. When we learn to practice in this way, our inner world is transformed. It ceases to be a battlefield and becomes a place of healing, a sanctuary where all parts of us are welcome. We no longer need to be afraid of what arises within us. When we learn to hold our own anger with compassion, we are less likely to be triggered by the anger we see in others. When we come to understand the roots of our own fear, we can better relate to the fear that drives another person's actions. This profound inner work, this art of befriending our inner storms, naturally and gracefully ripples outward. It changes the very fabric of our connections with the people in our lives. It allows us to show up with more presence, more wisdom, and more love. It allows us to move towards true healing in our relationships. We have journeyed inward, learning to sit with the storms of our own heart, holding our anger, fear, and sadness with a newfound tenderness and wisdom. This inner work is the foundation for peace, but its true power is often revealed, not in solitude, but in the dynamic, challenging, and beautiful arena of our relationships, our connections with others, our partners, our families. Our friends are often the ground where our past wounds are most easily triggered. An innocent comment can unleash an old feeling of inadequacy. A simple disagreement can escalate into a familiar, painful pattern of anger and blame. It is in our relationships that the ghosts of the past seem most alive. But for this very reason, our relationships also offer us the most profound opportunity for healing and awakening. They are the sacred dojo where we can practice our mindfulness in the most meaningful way. One of the greatest sources of conflict in our relationships comes from a simple, tragic fact. We are rarely interacting with the person who is actually in front of us. Instead, we are interacting with a ghost of them that we carry in our own mind. This ghost is a mental construction, a collage built from years of shared history, layered with every past hurt, every disappointment, and every unmet expectation. When you look at your parent, you may still see the critical authority figure from your youth, failing to see the vulnerable, aging person they have become. When you look at your partner, you may see them through the filter of a mistake they made years ago, unable to acknowledge their growth and change, and they, in turn, are interacting with a ghost of you, a version of you from the past that they are still holding on to. What happens then is not a genuine meeting between two people in the present moment. It is a meeting of two ghosts, two collections of memories and grievances bumping into each other, reenacting the same tired scripts, pushing the same painful buttons, and wondering why they always end up in the same place. To heal our relationships, we must first have the courage to let these ghosts dissolve. We must learn to see the person who is here, now, with fresh eyes, free from the heavy veil of the past. This is an act of mindfulness. The first practice that allows us to do this is the practice of deep listening. This is very different from how we normally listen. Usually, we listen with an agenda. We listen while preparing our rebuttal, waiting for our turn to speak, filtering their words through our own opinions and judgments. Deep listening is the practice of offering someone the rare and precious gift of our full, undivided, and non-judgmental attention. The only intention is to understand. When you listen deeply, you are not just hearing the words, You are listening for the feelings beneath the words. You are listening for their crying baby. You are asking yourself, what is the suffering, the unmet need that is being expressed here? You resist the powerful urge to interrupt, to correct, to advise, or to defend yourself. You simply listen. You create a safe space for the other person to be fully heard. And after they have spoken, you might reflect back what you understood. It sounds like you felt really alone and unsupported when that happened. Is that right? This act of validating another's feelings, without even needing to agree with them, can be incredibly de-escalating and healing. It is a message that says, you matter. Your experience matters to me. The other wing of mindful communication is loving speech. Just as we listen with the intention to understand, we must speak with the intention to be understood. And to not cause further harm, loving speech is truthful. But it is also kind before you speak, especially in a moment of tension. You can pause, take a single mindful breath, and check your intention. Ask yourself, is what I am about to say true? Is it necessary? And is it kind? If the answer to all three is not yes, it might be wiser to remain silent. Loving speech uses I statements rather than you statements. Instead of saying, you always ignore me, which is an accusation that invites defensiveness, you can say, when you were on your phone while I was talking, I felt hurt and unimportant. This shares your authentic feeling without attacking the other person's character. It keeps the door open for connection, rather than slamming it shut with blame. There is a story of a couple who found themselves stuck in a painful cycle of arguing. Their disagreements would quickly escalate into bitter fights, with each person dredging up a long list of past grievances. They were trapped in a conversation between their ghosts, seeking help. They were given a small, clear-sounding bell by a meditation teacher. They made a solemn agreement with each other. During a disagreement, whenever either one of them felt the anger and blame starting to take over, they had the right to invite the bell to sound. The rule was simple: when the bell rang, all talking had to cease immediately, and both of them had to stop and return to their own breath for 3 full, conscious breaths. One evening, a heated argument began. Voices were raised. The familiar accusations began to fly. One of them, remembering their promise, reached over and gently tapped the bell. Its clear, pure sound cut through the thick atmosphere of anger. As agreed, they both fell silent. It felt unnatural, even frustrating. They looked at each other, the angry words still waiting on their lips. But they honored the agreement. They breathed in, and they breathed out. That was one breath. They breathed in again, feeling the tension in their own bodies. They breathed out, letting some of it go. That was 2 breaths. They took one more deep breath, in and out, in the sacred space created by that pause. Something magical happened. The overwhelming momentum of the anger had subsided. They had stepped out of the rapids of their reactivity and onto the solid ground of the present moment. From this calmer place, they could see each other not as adversaries, but as 2 people who were both suffering. The bell had not solved their problem, but it had saved them from each other. It was a loving friend whose only role was to bring them back home to the present. This is a practice we can all do. Even without a physical bell, our breath can be our bell. When we feel the heat rising, we can make an agreement with ourselves to pause, to take 3 conscious breaths before we speak or act. In that pause, we have a choice. We can ask ourselves, do I want to be right? Or do I want to be happy? Do I want to win this argument? Or do I want to preserve this connection most of the time? The ego wants to be right, but the wise heart knows that connection is infinitely more precious. Learning to communicate with deep listening and loving speech, learning to see the person in front of you instead of the ghost of your past, is a profound way to bring healing to your relationships. It is a way of cleaning the wounds of the past by refusing to reinfect them in the present. Yet, there are some wounds, some hurts from the past, that are so deep and so persistent that they require a further, more specific, and deeply courageous act of the heart to truly release their hold on us. This act, a gift we give not to the other person, but entirely to ourselves for the sake of our own freedom, is the profound and liberating power of forgiveness. We have walked the gentle path of mindful communication, learning to listen deeply and speak with kindness, transforming our relationships from battlefields into gardens for practice. This path helps us to stop creating new wounds in the present moment. But what of the old wounds? The ones that are so deep they seem to have become a part of us. What of the betrayals? The injustices? The profound hurts that we carry like a heavy, jagged stone in the center of our heart? Even with a compassionate heart and a mindful presence, we may find that this stone of grievance remains, poisoning our peace and tethering us to the past. The courageous act of addressing this final, heaviest burden is the practice of forgiveness. Perhaps no word in our spiritual vocabulary is more misunderstood. When we hear the word forgive, our minds often rebel. A part of us cries out, "But you don't understand what they did. It was unforgivable." Forgiving them would mean letting them off the hook, saying that what they did was okay. And if this were the meaning of forgiveness, then that resistance would be wise. But this is not what true forgiveness is. It is essential, for the sake of our own freedom, that we first understand what forgiveness is not. Forgiveness is not condoning. It does not mean you approve of the harmful action or excuse the hurt that was caused. Harm is harm. Betrayal is betrayal. Forgiveness does not wipe the slate clean, as if the event never happened. Forgiveness is not forgetting. We may never forget the details of a deep wound, and perhaps we shouldn't, as there may be important lessons there. Forgiveness is not about developing amnesia. It is about changing our relationship with the memory, and most importantly, forgiveness is not necessarily reconciliation. It does not mean you must allow the person who hurt you back into your life, especially if they remain a source of harm. Forgiveness is a purely internal act, a transaction that happens entirely within your own heart. Reconciliation is an external act that requires 2 people, and it depends on trust, safety, and changed behavior. You can forgive someone completely while also making the wise and compassionate decision to never see them again. So, if forgiveness is none of these things, what is it forgiveness? Is the brave and pragmatic recognition that holding on to anger, hatred, and resentment is a poison you drink yourself. While hoping the other person will suffer, it is the realization that unforgiveness is a heavy, burning coal that you clutch in your own fist, searing your own flesh, long after the person who threw it to you has walked away. Forgiveness is the act of opening your hand and dropping the coal, not for their sake, but for the sake of your own healing. It is a gift you give entirely to yourself. Imagine that every time someone hurts you, an invisible, energetic cord is formed, connecting your heart to theirs. When you hold on to unforgiveness, you are holding that cord taut. You are allowing the pain, the anger, and the story of the past to continue to flow from them to you, draining your energy. Day after day, year after year, you have, in effect, given them free rent inside your mind and heart. Forgiveness is the act of taking a pair of spiritual scissors and, with a clear intention, cutting that cord. You are not sending them love. You are not sending them hate. You are simply cutting the connection. You are taking your power back. You are declaring that you will no longer allow the events of the past to dictate the quality of your present moment. The path of forgiveness is a process, and it often begins with turning that compassionate attention toward yourself. We must first forgive ourselves. We forgive ourselves for not knowing then what we know now. We forgive ourselves for not being stronger, for not seeing the warning signs. We forgive ourselves for any part we may have played, knowingly or unknowingly. And perhaps most importantly, we must forgive ourselves for carrying the burden of hatred for so long, for allowing the poison to circulate within us, believing it was somehow protecting us when it was only causing more damage. So you can begin there. Place a hand on your heart and offer yourself this kindness. I forgive myself for holding on to this pain for so long. I did the best I could at the time. I release myself from this burden now. From this place of self-compassion, you can then turn your attention to the other person. You can bring their image to mind. You can allow yourself to fully acknowledge the pain that was caused. You don't need to bypass it or pretend it wasn't real. Feel the anger. Feel the grief. Let the truth of your experience be heard by you. And then, when you are ready, you can begin to form the intention to let go. You may not feel it at first, but you can state the intention in the quiet of your own heart. You can say the words, "I see the pain this has caused me. For the sake of my own peace, for the sake of my own freedom, I am willing to let go of this burden. I release you from the debt that I believe you owe me. I cut the cord. I set myself free." This is not a single event. It is a practice. You may need to forgive the same person for the same hurt 100 times. You may think you are done, and then a memory is triggered, and the anger flares up again. This is not a failure. It is simply a deeper layer of the wound presenting itself for healing. Each time you notice the resentment, and you gently and consciously choose to drop the hot coal again, you are strengthening your heart and walking further down the path of liberation. Perhaps the greatest modern example of this power is the story of Nelson Mandela. He was unjustly imprisoned for 27 years, subjected to brutal conditions, and the theft of the best years of his life. He had every reason to be consumed by a righteous and consuming hatred. Yet, when he was finally released, he chose a different path. He chose to lead his nation with a spirit of reconciliation and forgiveness. He famously said that as he was walking out of the prison gates, he knew that if he did not leave his bitterness and hatred behind, he would still be a prisoner. He understood that unforgiveness is simply a smaller, self-made prison cell that we carry with us wherever we go. Forgiveness was his final act of walking to freedom. This is the invitation for each of us. To walk out of the self-made prison of our own grievances, to cut the cords that bind us to painful moments in the past, to drop the last, heaviest stones from our backpack so that we can finally walk upright and unburdened. When we truly commit to this courageous practice, when we release the enormous amount of energy that was consumed by replaying old hurts and fueling resentment, an incredible lightness and a profound quiet begins to permeate our being. The constant background noise of our grievances fades. Our minds, finally unburdened from the clamor of the past, can begin to settle into a new and deeper level of peace. We become capable of discovering the healing power of inner stillness. Even in the midst of this noisy and chaotic world, the courageous act of forgiveness has released you from the heaviest of your burdens. The great, jagged stone of resentment has been set down upon the earth, and the toxic cord binding you to the past has been cut. In its place, there is a new sense of lightness, a vast and open space within you. The energy that was once consumed by the tireless work of holding a grievance is now liberated. And in this newfound inner space, you may begin to notice something you were too preoccupied to notice before the constant, pervasive noise of the world and of your own mind. We live in an age that is terrified of silence. Our world is a symphony of distraction, a relentless barrage of noise designed to capture our attention at every turn. The constant ping of notifications from our phones, the endless, hypnotic scroll of social media feeds, the 24-hour news cycle filled with alarm and outrage, the ceaseless hum of traffic, the blare of advertisements. Every empty moment is seen as a void that must be filled with sound, information, and stimulation. This external noise is so pervasive that we have trained our internal world to match it. Our minds have learned to be noisy. There is the constant inner commentary, the voice that narrates, judges, and analyzes every experience. There is the endless planning for the future, the strategizing and worrying. There is the ceaseless replaying of the past, the editing of old conversations, and the reliving of old memories. This inner chatter is like the hum of a fluorescent light, so constant that we often forget it's even there. Yet it contributes to a state of subtle, chronic agitation and stress. We have come to believe that this noise is normal, and that silence is empty, boring, or even frightening. But this is a misunderstanding. The stillness we seek is not an empty void. It is a space that is full. It is full of peace, full of potential, and full of a quiet, intuitive wisdom that can never be heard above the clamor of a noisy mind. Stillness is not an absence. It is the presence of awareness itself. It is the deep, dark, fertile soil from which all real creativity and insight grows. It is the vast, silent canvas that allows the colors of life to be truly seen. It is the foundational quiet that allows the music of our lives to be heard. The answers we seek are rarely found in more thinking or more stimulation. They are found in the quiet spaces between our thoughts. Imagine you come across a beautiful lake high in the mountains, but recently, a great storm has passed through. Or perhaps someone has been carelessly stirring up the bottom. The water, which should be crystal clear, is completely brown and murky with mud and silt. You cannot see the smooth stones on the lake bed. You cannot see the graceful fish swimming in its depths. You cannot see the brilliant reflection of the blue sky and the white clouds on its surface. The lake is agitated and opaque. This is a perfect metaphor for our mind when it is filled with the noise of anxious thoughts, restless planning, and past regrets. Now, what would you do to make this lake clear again? Would you jump in and start splashing around, trying to force the mud to the bottom? Of course not. That would only stir it up more. Would you try to scoop out all the muddy water with a bucket? That would be an endless and futile task. This is what we do when we fight with our thoughts, when we get angry at our minds for being so busy, when we try to force ourselves to be peaceful. We just create more inner turmoil. The wisdom of the lake teaches a different path. The only way to make the water clear is to leave it alone, to sit quietly on the shore, to stop all the stirring, and to let the natural laws of gravity do their work. So you sit by the edge of the lake. You simply watch. You do nothing, and in your stillness, the lake begins its own process of healing. Slowly, imperceptibly at first, the heaviest particles of mud begin to settle. Minute by minute, hour by hour, the water grows clearer. The murkiness begins to recede. Soon, you can start to see the vague shapes of the rocks below. Then, you can see the fish moving peacefully in the shallows. And finally, if you wait with enough patience, the last fine particles of silt will drift down to the bottom, and the entire lake will become utterly still and transparent. Its surface becomes a flawless mirror, perfectly reflecting the sky, the mountains, and your own peaceful face looking into it. The lake has not become empty. It has become full of clarity. It is now able to reflect the world just as it is. Our mind is this lake. The practice of finding stillness is the practice of letting the mud settle. We don't have to get rid of our thoughts. We simply have to stop stirring them up. We stop feeding the stories. We stop struggling against the feelings. And we allow everything to naturally settle in the spaciousness of our awareness. We can actively cultivate this stillness in our daily lives. We can create pockets of external silence that invite internal silence. We can make a conscious choice to put our phone in another room for an hour each evening. We can take a walk in a park or a forest and leave the headphones behind, listening instead to the sound of the wind in the trees. We can eat one meal a day in silence, truly tasting our food without the distraction of a screen or a conversation. These acts of creating external quiet are powerful invitations for our inner world to follow suit. The ultimate practice for cultivating this inner stillness is the meditation we have been exploring throughout our journey together. It is the simple, repeated act of returning our awareness to the anchor of the breath. It is the practice of sitting like the mountain, allowing the weather of our thoughts and feelings to pass by without disturbance. Each time we sit, Each time we choose to be still, we are allowing the mud of our mind to settle just a little bit more. We are giving our inner lake the chance to become clear. This deep inner quiet is the foundation for the most profound and restorative rest. It is a peace that seeps into the very cells of your being, but it offers another beautiful gift as well. When the constant noise of our inner commentary begins to fade, we start to perceive the world with a startling new richness and intimacy. We are no longer just thinking about our life. We are finally able to fully experience it. We can feel the warmth of the sun on our skin, taste the complexity of a sip of tea, and hear the love in a friend's voice, all without the filter of our chattering mind. From this place of deep stillness, we can begin to discover the profound and often overlooked beauty that lies hidden in the joy of simple things. The inner lake of your mind has begun to settle. The mud of past grievances and future anxieties has drifted down, revealing a new clarity. The constant, noisy commentary has subsided, replaced by a deep and restorative stillness. From this quiet place, a new way of perceiving the world becomes possible. For most of our lives, we have been living not in the world itself, but in our thoughts about the world. We have been so busy chasing a grand future happiness that we have missed the thousand small, subtle joys that are available in every present moment. We have been living under a spell, the spell of, I will be happy when, I will be happy when I get the promotion, when I find a partner, when I lose the weight, when I retire. This is the great myth that keeps us dissatisfied, forever postponing our joy to a future that never quite arrives. The truth is that happiness is not a destination you arrive at. It is a path you walk. It is not a prize you win at the end of a long struggle. It is a quality of attention you can bring to your life. Right here, right now. The joy you seek is not hidden in a future accomplishment. It is hidden in plain sight, in the fabric of your ordinary, everyday life. It is waiting to be discovered in the simplest of things. This discovery requires only one thing: your full presence. Let us explore this together. With the simple act of drinking a cup of warm tea. This could be any simple act: eating a piece of fruit, feeling the rain on your skin, listening to a piece of music. For now, just imagine a warm cup in your hands. For these next few moments, this cup of tea is the most important thing in the universe. It is your entire world. First, simply feel the cup in your hands. Feel its weight, its shape, its texture. Feel the warmth radiating from it, seeping gently into your palms. Notice the simple, pleasant sensation of this warmth. Now, bring the cup closer and look at it. Truly see it. Notice the color of the tea. Is it a deep amber, a pale gold, a rich, dark brown? See the subtle steam rising from the surface, dancing and disappearing into the air. This steam is a perfect teacher of impermanence. Here one moment, gone the next. Notice the light reflecting on the liquid surface. You are not just glancing at the tea, you are receiving it with your eyes. Now, gently, bring the cup towards your face and inhale its aroma. What do you smell? Is it earthy, floral, spicy, don't just label it. Try to experience the raw sensation of the scent itself. It is a gift to your senses. Finally, take a small sip. Don't gulp it down. Let the liquid rest in your mouth for a moment. Feel its temperature. Notice its taste. The complex notes on your tongue. Then, as you swallow, feel the warmth as it spreads down your throat and into your body. A wave of gentle comfort. You can continue this with each sip, feeling the warmth of the cup, seeing the color of the tea, smelling the aroma, tasting the flavor. In these moments, you are not thinking about yesterday's problems. You are not planning tomorrow's tasks. You are simply, fully, and completely drinking tea. This is not a small thing. To be fully present for one simple act is to be fully alive. And to be fully alive is the deepest joy. The Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh told a wonderful story that perfectly illustrates this principle. He was once asked by a student, "What is the point of washing the dishes?" After a meal, the student expected a complex philosophical answer, but the master replied with simple, profound wisdom. He explained that most of the time, when we are washing the dishes, we are trying to get it over with. We think of washing dishes as a chore that stands in the way of what comes next. Perhaps enjoying a dessert or a cup of tea, so while our hands are in the warm, soapy water, our mind is already in the future, thinking about the tea. We aren't really there with the dishes. We are rushing through the present to get to a better future. But then, he said, when it is time to drink our tea, our mind has already moved on again. We are thinking about what we have to do tomorrow, or replaying a conversation from earlier in the day. So we are not really present for the tea either. We are washing the dishes of the future while we drink our tea. We spend our whole lives like this, never truly inhabiting the moment we are in, always living in a future that, when it arrives, we will also neglect. The master then said, "The point of washing the dishes is to wash the dishes. The point is to be fully alive during the time you are washing them, to feel the warm water on your hands, to appreciate the smoothness of the plates, to smell the scent of the soap, to be grateful that you had food to eat from these dishes. When you can be fully present for the act of washing dishes, you are a free person." And he concluded, if you are unable to wash the dishes in mindfulness, you will also be unable to drink your tea in mindfulness. The quality of your life is not determined by what you are doing, but by the quality of presence you bring to the doing. This mindful attention to simple things naturally gives rise to a powerful and healing quality, gratitude. When you are truly present with your cup of tea, you can feel a natural sense of gratitude arise. Gratitude for the tea leaves, for the sun and rain that grew them, for the hands that harvested them, for the clean water, for your own body that is able to taste and feel the warmth. Gratitude is the perfect antidote to the poisons of regret and craving. Regret looks at the past and says, "It wasn't good enough." Craving looks at the future and says, "I won't be happy until I have that." Gratitude looks at the present moment, just as it is, and says, "Thank you. This is enough." You can cultivate this practice in your own life, perhaps at the end of each day, before you drift into sleep. You can mentally list 3 simple things from your day for which you are grateful. It doesn't have to be anything dramatic. It could be the comfort of your bed, the sound of rain on the roof, a kind word from a colleague, the taste of your morning coffee. By focusing on these simple gifts, you are training your mind to see the richness that is already here, to recognize the abundance that you already possess. Finding our joy in the simple, present moments of our lives is the ultimate expression of letting go of the past. It is a profound affirmation of the life that is here for us now, not the life we once had or the life we hope to have. When we learn to inhabit our days in this deeply appreciative way, we become more at ease with the natural rhythm of existence. We are less afraid of things changing or ending, because we know how to treasure them fully while they are here. This growing comfort with the natural, flowing nature of life prepares us to look at the greatest flow of all the relentless and universal current of change itself, not as an enemy to be feared, but as a lifelong friend and a wise teacher. We have learned to find a profound joy in the simple, present moments of our lives by bringing our full attention to the warmth of a cup of tea or the feeling of our own breath. We have discovered that happiness is not a distant destination, but a quality of presence we can inhabit right now. This practice of living fully in the present naturally makes us more at ease with the world's constant unfolding. We are less afraid of things ending because we are learning how to truly appreciate them while they are here. This growing comfort with the flow of life allows us to revisit an old acquaintance, the universal law of impermanence, and to see it not as a source of fear, but as a wise and lifelong friend. Earlier in our journey, the truth of Annika, that everything changes, may have felt unsettling. It can feel like the ground is constantly shifting beneath our feet, that there is nothing solid to hold on to. This feeling is the very root of our tendency to cling to the past. We fear change, so we try to freeze time. We build a museum of our memories and try to live there, hoping to protect ourselves from the unpredictable nature of the future. We hold on to old identities, old relationships, and old stories because they are familiar. We are like someone living in a house who tries to nail all the furniture to the floor, terrified that a strong wind might come and rearrange everything. This struggle against change, this resistance to the most fundamental law of the universe, is a constant source of tension and suffering. But now, from this calmer, more present place, we can look again. We can see that the very force we were so afraid of is, in fact, our greatest ally. We can learn to embrace change as the engine of all healing and the gateway to all possibility. Think, for a moment, of a deep wound in the body. If the law of existence were permanence, that wound would never close. The pain would be eternal. It is only because of the law of change that cells can regenerate, new tissue can form, and skin can mend. The same is true for the wounds of the heart. It is the grace of impermanence that allows the sharp agony of grief to soften, over time, into a sweet and tender memory. It is change that allows the fire of anger to burn itself out, leaving the ground fertile for new growth. It is change that allows a broken heart to slowly, miraculously, knit itself back together. Without change, there would be no healing. There would be no second chances. There would be no recovery. This law is our ultimate liberation from any state we find ourselves in. If you are experiencing a moment of profound sadness, you can find comfort in the absolute certainty that this state is not permanent. It is a weather pattern that will pass. If you have made a mistake and are filled with regret, you are not sentenced to be that person who made a mistake for eternity. You are a flowing process. That version of you is already gone. The law of change guarantees that nothing is a life sentence. This too shall pass is not a hopeful platitude. It is the most reliable promise in the cosmos. Furthermore, change is the source of all opportunity. Because things change, every single day is a new beginning. Every moment offers a fresh start. The future is not a fixed path determined by the past. It is an open field of possibility. Because of change, a seed can become a magnificent tree. Because of change, a student can become a master. Because of change, we can learn, we can grow, we can evolve. To befriend change is to align ourselves with the creative, dynamic, generative force of life itself. There is no more powerful story of this transformative potential than the parable of the caterpillar and the butterfly. Consider the life of the caterpillar. Its world is simple and predictable. It inches along a leaf. Its entire existence defined by the acts of crawling and eating. It is safe. It is familiar. But at some point, a mysterious inner impulse, a call from life itself, urges it to do something strange and terrifying. It stops eating. It stops craving. And it begins to weave a chrysalis around itself. A silken tomb. This is the caterpillar's great act of surrender to change. Inside the darkness of the chrysalis, a radical transformation occurs. The caterpillar's old form completely dissolves. It literally turns into a kind of primordial soup of imaginal cells. We can only imagine how this might feel. It is a state of complete disintegration, a falling apart, a death of everything the caterpillar knew itself to be. This is often how our own deep transformations feel, a period of confusion, of not knowing who we are, a sense that our old self is dying before a new self has been born. This is the necessary crucible of change. From this state of dissolution, a new form begins to organize itself. And then, one day, the new being is ready. It must struggle to break free from the chrysalis. This struggle is not a flaw in the process. It is essential. The effort of pushing its way out forces fluid into the veins of its wings, giving them the strength they will need to fly. If a well-meaning person were to help the butterfly by cutting open the chrysalis, the butterfly would emerge with weak, shriveled wings and would never be able to fly. The struggle is part of the transformation, and when it finally emerges, it is a creature beyond the caterpillar's wildest imagination. It no longer crawls, it flies. It no longer chews on leaves. It sips the sweet nectar of flowers. It has a perspective of the world, the garden, the sky that the caterpillar, bound to its single leaf, could never have conceived of. It has not just changed, it has been reborn into a new dimension of being. This is the promise of embracing change. We so often cling to our comfortable caterpillar self, terrified of the disintegration of the chrysalis. But it is only by having the courage to let go of who we have been that we can discover the freedom of who we are becoming. It is only by embracing the process of change that we can learn to fly. When we can truly befriend change in this way, seeing it not as a thief that steals our security, but as a wise teacher that offers us healing, opportunity, and transformation, our entire relationship with life shifts. We can hold our joys more lightly and our sorrows more gracefully. We can participate in the dance of life with more trust and less fear. This growing friendship with change prepares us with a new sense of peace and curiosity to contemplate the greatest and most inevitable change of all. It allows us to face the truth of our own mortality, not with panic or denial, but with a profound and urgent appreciation for the precious gift of the life we have been given. We have learned to befriend the great current of change, to see its constant flow not as a threat, but as a wise and powerful friend that brings healing and new beginnings. By learning to trust this flow, we develop the courage to face the horizon of our own existence. We can now gently turn towards a truth that our culture often encourages us to ignore, a truth spoken only in whispers, yet one that holds the key to living with the utmost passion, clarity, and love. This is the truth of our own mortality. In the great wisdom traditions, contemplating the finite nature of our lives is not considered morbid or depressing. It is revered as one of the most potent and life-affirming practices imaginable. It is the act of looking at the ultimate horizon, which has the power to bring everything in the foreground of our lives into breathtakingly sharp focus. For most of our days, we live under the illusion of infinite time. We operate as if we have a limitless supply of tomorrows. This illusion allows us to postpone joy, to hold on to petty grievances, to delay forgiveness, and to leave important words of love unsaid. It allows us to invest our precious life energy in things that, in the end, do not truly matter, impressing people we do not know, accumulating possessions we cannot keep, and nursing grudges that only weigh us down. The gentle, mindful contemplation of our own mortality is the antidote to this trance. It is the great clarifier. Let yourself, for a moment, gently entertain a question. If you knew that your time was limited, if you knew you had 1 year, 1 month, or even just 1 week left to live, what would immediately change? Notice what would fall away. The small anxieties, the long-held resentments, the fear of what others think, the need to be right in an argument. All of these concerns would be revealed as the trivial distractions they truly are. They would evaporate like mist in the morning sun. Now, notice what would rise to the surface in their place. What would become your priority? Almost certainly, it would be the things of the heart, the desire to connect deeply with those you love, the urgent need to express your gratitude and your affection, the impulse to forgive both others and yourself, and to mend broken connections, the wish to experience simple beauty, to watch one more sunset, to hear one more beautiful piece of music, to feel the wind on your face. This contemplation is not a dress rehearsal for dying. It is a powerful strategy for living. It gives us access to this profound clarity now, without having to wait for a crisis. It is a tool that helps us to align our daily actions with our deepest values. When you hold the awareness of life's precious, finite nature, it becomes much easier to let go of the small stuff. It becomes easier to say, "I love you." It becomes easier to forgive. It becomes easier to choose connection over conflict and authenticity over approval. This awareness also transforms our relationship with time itself. Each day ceases to be just another block on a calendar to be checked off and gotten through. Each day reveals itself as an unrepeatable miracle, a precious gift that can never be reclaimed once it has passed. The simple act of waking up in the morning becomes a cause for profound gratitude. The wonder of consciousness, the ability to see, to hear, to taste, to feel, to love, all of these are seen not as our right, but as our incredible privilege. This perspective infuses ordinary moments with an extraordinary sense of preciousness. Furthermore, this practice is deeply connected to the art of letting go that we have been cultivating. A peaceful death is often described as one where a person can release their hold on this life without struggle, without being pulled back by the heavy chains of regret or attachment. In this sense, the work we have been doing all along, learning to let go of old stories, to forgive grievances, to release our clinging to pleasure and our aversion to pain, is not just a practice for living a happier life. It is, in fact, a preparation for dying a peaceful death. By clearing our emotional and psychological baggage now, day by day, we are packing lightly for our final journey. We are cultivating a heart that is free and unburdened, ready to meet the great mystery with peace and grace. In 2005, the visionary founder of Apple, Steve Jobs, gave a commencement address at Stanford University. He was speaking to the students not long after having been diagnosed with a rare form of pancreatic cancer. And so his words carried the profound weight of someone who was living with this truth every single day. He said, "Remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life." He explained that when viewed through the lens of mortality, almost everything, all external expectations, all pride, all fear of embarrassment or failure, these things just fall away, revealing what is truly important. He concluded this thought with a line of startling power: "Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You are already naked. There is no reason not to follow your heart." This is not a morbid sentiment. It is a call to ultimate courage. It is a powerful permission slip to live our most authentic, daring, and love-filled life right now, without delay. This profound awareness of our shared mortality, the tender understanding that our time here is both precious and finite, does not isolate us in fear. On the contrary, when we truly absorb it, it reveals our deepest and most fundamental connection to one another and to all of life. When we see that every other being we meet, whether human or animal, is walking this same path alongside us, facing this same ultimate mystery, our hearts can open with a new and universal empathy. We begin to see not just our own individual story, but the vast, intricate, and beautiful web of interconnection in which we are all woven together. We have stood at the ultimate horizon, acknowledging the profound truth of our own mortality. This awareness, rather than being a source of fear, has become a great clarifier, urging us to live more fully, to love more deeply, and to let go of what does not matter. This shared truth The fact that every being we meet is walking this same finite path unveils an even deeper layer of connection between us. It begins to dissolve the illusion that we are separate, isolated individuals. It prepares us to understand one of the most beautiful and world-changing truths, the intricate, inescapable, and wondrous web of interconnection. For our entire lives, we have been trained to see the world as a collection of separate things. There is me over here, and you over there. Here is a tree. There is the sky. Here is a table. There is a chair. We see a world of nouns, of distinct and independent objects. But the great wisdom traditions teach that this is an illusion created by a limited way of seeing. In reality, nothing exists by itself. Everything in the universe arises in dependence upon everything else. This is the teaching of interbeing, or dependent origination. It tells us that we do not exist as separate selves. We are. To understand this, let us perform a simple contemplation. Imagine you are holding a single sheet of paper. It seems simple, a self-contained object. But let us look deeply into the paper. What do we see if we look with mindful eyes? We can see a cloud floating in the sky. Without the cloud, there can be no rain. Without the rain, the tree cannot grow. So the cloud and the rain are in the paper. If we look again, we can see the tree, the tall pine or birch whose fibers were turned into this pulp. We see the forest, the sun that nourished the tree, the earth that gave it minerals. The sun and the earth are in the paper. Looking more deeply, we can see the logger who cut down the tree. We can see his parents who gave him life. We can see the wheat that made the bread he ate for breakfast, and the farmer who grew the wheat. They are all, in some way, present in this sheet of paper. We can see the factory worker who operated the paper mill, the truck driver who transported the paper, the store owner who sold it. We see the thoughts and intentions of all these people. If we were to remove any one of these elements, if we remove the sun, or the rain, or the logger, or the tree, this sheet of paper could not exist. The entire cosmos, in all its vastness and complexity, has conspired to bring this simple sheet of paper into being. It is not a separate thing. It is a manifestation of everything else. It interis with the whole universe. Now, look at your own hand. Just like the sheet of paper, it is not separate. In this hand, there is the food you have eaten, the sun and the rain and the earth that grew it. There are your parents and your ancestors stretching back through countless generations. There is the language you speak, the ideas you have learned, the culture that has shaped you. If you take away any of these non-you elements, the you that you think of as a separate self disappears. You, too, intera with the entire cosmos. The elegant formula for this law of reality is simple. This is, because that is, this is not, because that is not. This arises, because that arises. This ceases, because that ceases. A flower can only be, because non-flower elements like sunshine, soil, and water are. It cannot exist on its own. You can only be because of all the non-you elements that support your existence in every moment. The feeling of being a separate, Isolated self is simply a failure of perception, a failure to see all the invisible threads that connect you to everything and everyone. This understanding has profound implications for our healing. When we are trapped in our own suffering, we often feel completely alone. We feel that our pain, our anxiety, our grief is a personal, isolated problem, a sign that we are uniquely flawed. The wisdom of interbeing shows us that this is impossible. Your suffering is not yours alone. It is connected to the suffering of your parents and your ancestors. It is connected to the suffering of your society and your world. You are part of a vast human tapestry. This does not diminish your personal experience, but it removes the terrible burden of isolation. You are not alone in your pain. Conversely, and most hopefully, your healing is also not for you alone. When you undertake the work of transforming your suffering, of cultivating peace in your own heart, that peace does not stay contained within you. It ripples out through the entire web of interconnection. A calmer, more compassionate you changes the atmosphere in your home. It changes the way you interact with your family, your friends, your colleagues at work, the stranger at the grocery store. Your inner peace becomes a silent, powerful gift to the world. Your personal work of healing is a contribution to the healing of the entire planet. This gives our journey a deep and selfless purpose. There is a sublime and ancient metaphor from Buddhist cosmology that captures this reality perfectly. It is the image of Indra's net in the heavenly palace of the god Indra. There hangs a vast and marvelous net that stretches out infinitely in all directions. At every single node where the threads of this net cross, there hangs a single, perfectly clear, and brilliantly polished jewel. The net is structured in such a way that if you look closely at the surface of any one jewel, you will see reflected in it every other jewel in the entire infinite net. And not only that, but each reflection within that single jewel also contains the reflection of all the other jewels, creating a shimmering, endless, holographic universe of interreflection. Every one of us, every person, every animal, every plant, every drop of water, every speck of dust is one of these jewels in Indra's net. Each of us is a unique and brilliant manifestation. Yet each of us perfectly reflects all of existence. We are simultaneously our unique selves and the entire cosmos. To touch one jewel is to make the whole net vibrate. The joy of one jewel is shared in the reflection of all. The suffering of one jewel casts a shadow, however faint. On all, there is no true separation. There is only relationship. There is only interbeing. Seeing ourselves as a jewel in this infinite, shimmering net changes everything. Our personal story of suffering is no longer a small, isolated, shameful secret. It is a vital thread in the universal tapestry. It is a facet of one of the jewels that adds to the richness and complexity of the whole. This grand, cosmic perspective allows us to look back at the most difficult parts of our own journey, at the wounds and the struggles we have endured, not as flaws or mistakes, but as the very places where our unique thread adds a deep and meaningful color to the great design. It allows us to begin the sacred work of finding meaning in our scars. We have gazed into the vast, shimmering expanse of Indra's net and have seen that we are not isolated fragments, but brilliant jewels interconnected with all of existence. This cosmic perspective allows us to turn back and look upon our own personal history, our own unique thread in the great tapestry. With new and compassionate eyes, we have spoken much of letting go of the past. But it is crucial to understand that letting go does not mean erasing our history or pretending that our struggles never happened. That would be an act of violence against our own experience. Instead, letting go means changing our relationship with the past. It means learning to see our journey not as a source of shame, but as the very ground from which our strength and wisdom have grown. It is the sacred art of finding meaning in our scars. In our culture, scars are often seen as blemishes, as signs of damage or imperfection that should be hidden. We prefer smooth, unbroken surfaces. But this is a shallow view of beauty. A scar is not a sign of weakness. It is a testament to healing. It is the mark that proves a wound has closed. It is evidence that you have faced a challenge and have survived. A person who has lived a full and courageous life will inevitably carry scars. They are the roadmap of a soul that has dared to engage with the world, to love, to risk, to fall, and to get back up again. To wish for a life without scars is to wish for a life that has never been truly tested, a story that has never been truly lived. Your scars, both visible and invisible, are not your shame. They are your medals of honor. But this understanding goes even deeper. Our most difficult experiences, our most painful wounds, hold the potential to become our greatest gifts. There is a kind of sacred alchemy in suffering. When we move through it with mindfulness and self-compassion, the lead of our pain can be transformed into the gold of wisdom. It is the person who has known the depths of grief who can sit with a friend in mourning and offer a silence that is truly comforting, a presence that understands without needing words. It is the person who has wrestled with their own demons of anxiety or addiction who can look upon another struggling soul with genuine, non-judgmental empathy. Your personal experience of suffering carves out a space in your heart. It creates a new capacity for compassion. The very places where you were most deeply broken can become the bridges that connect you most profoundly to the suffering of others. Your pain, when tended to with love, becomes your superpower. In Japan, there is a beautiful and ancient art form called kintsugi, which means to join with gold. When a precious ceramic bowl or teacup is dropped and shatters into pieces, it is not seen as ruined or worthless. A follower of the way of kintsugi does not throw the broken pieces away. Instead, they undertake a patient and loving process of repair. They carefully gather every last fragment. Then, they mix a special lacquer with fine, powdered gold with meticulous care. They glue the broken pieces back together, and this golden lacquer fills every crack, tracing the lines of the fracture. When the process is complete, the bowl is not just restored, it is transformed. It is considered more beautiful, more precious, and more interesting than it was before it was ever broken. The history of its brokenness is not hidden or disguised. It is illuminated. It is celebrated. The network of golden seams becomes the most stunning feature of the piece, a testament to its unique story of being shattered and made whole again. The bowl's resilience, its capacity to be repaired and transformed, is what makes it truly priceless. This is a perfect metaphor for our own healing journey. We all experience times when we feel shattered by life, a heartbreak, a failure, a loss, a trauma. These are the moments when our world breaks apart. Our first instinct may be to feel shame, to see ourselves as broken, damaged goods, something to be discarded. But the spirit of Kintsugi invites a different path. It invites us to see our brokenness as an opportunity for a more beautiful kind of wholeness. The practices we have been exploring: mindfulness, self-compassion, forgiveness, acceptance. These are the golden lacquer. When we mindfully tend to our own broken pieces, when we hold our wounds with tenderness and fill the cracks with the gold of our loving attention, we do not simply go back to the way we were. We become something new. We become stronger at the broken places. And we carry a new kind of beauty, a beauty that is burnished with wisdom and experience. Our scars become our golden seams, a radiant map of our resilience, a testament to our courage to heal. With this understanding, we can begin to retell the story of our lives. We are the artists, the narrators of our own journey. We can choose to tell our story from a place of victimhood, pointing to our cracks and saying, "Look at how broken I am. Look at how unfairly I was shattered." This story keeps us trapped in the past, forever defined by our wounds. Or we can choose to tell our story from the perspective of the Kintsugi master. We can hold up our lives and say, "Look at the beautiful and unique way I have been put back together. Look at these golden seams. Each one a lesson learned. Each one a testament to my strength. I am more beautiful not in spite of my brokenness, but because of it." This is the shift from victim to hero in our own story. It is an act of profound self-love and empowerment when we can look at our own life story with this much acceptance, with this much love, seeing the golden light even in our deepest cracks. We are truly and deeply healed. This profound act of integration does not just change how we view our past, it transforms how we live in our present. We are no longer trying to hide parts of ourselves. We are no longer afraid of our own history. We are able to bring our whole, complete, beautifully scarred and resilient self to every moment of our lives. We are, at last, ready to live with a fully awakened heart. We have arrived at the final leg of our inner journey together. We have looked back at our lives, not with regret, but with the wise and tender eyes of a Kintsugi master, seeing the golden seams of resilience and beauty even in our deepest cracks. This profound act of self-acceptance, of embracing our whole story, allows us to finally and fully arrive where we have always been, right here, in the sanctuary of the present moment. This is the culmination of all our work. It is the art of living with an awakened heart. For so long, we have been tossed between two imaginary worlds. We have lived in the past, a realm of ghosts and memories, carrying its heavy baggage, refighting its old battles, and reliving its sorrows. We have treated it as a solid place, but we have learned that it has no reality outside of our own mind. It is a story we were telling ourselves. We have honored that story. We have learned from it, and now we can let it be. We have also lived in the future, a land of dreams and anxieties. chasing after a happiness that was always just over the horizon, or worrying about a catastrophe that might never come. We have treated the future as our destination, but we have learned that it is a mirage, always receding as we approach it. The awakened heart understands the truth. The past is a memory. The future is a fantasy. The only time that is real, the only place where life ever happens, is now. This very breath you are taking is the only breath that matters. This present moment is not a stepping stone to a better future moment. It is the destination itself. It is the point where time and eternity touch. It is the only place we can ever find the peace, the joy, and the freedom we have been seeking. And the most beautiful secret of all is that this peace was never hiding in a distant land or a future achievement. It was here all along. It was buried right under our feet, obscured by the mud of our restless thinking. Remember the lake of the mind, brown and murky with the silt of our anxieties and regrets. Our practice was not to create clear water. Our practice was simply to stop stirring, to allow the mud to settle. And as it settled, we discovered the crystal clarity that was the mind's true nature all along. The peace we have cultivated is not something we have built. It is something we have unveiled. It is our birthright, the natural state of a mind that is at rest. In the Zen tradition, there is a famous and profound exchange. A young, earnest student asks a great master, "What did you do before you were enlightened?" The master replies simply, "I chopped wood and I carried water." The student, hoping for a more mystical answer, is a bit disappointed, but he asks his next question, "And what do you do now, after you have attained enlightenment?" The master smiles and gives the exact same answer, "I chop wood and I carry water." The student is completely baffled. What, then, is the difference? What has changed? The master explains, "Before I was enlightened, when I was chopping wood, I was thinking about carrying water. And when I was carrying water, I was thinking about what I would eat for dinner. My mind was always somewhere else. Now, when I chop wood, I just chop wood. When I carry water, I just carry water. My mind and my body are in the same place at the same time. The action is the same, but I am fully present for it. And in that presence, everything is different. This is the essence of living with an awakened heart. It is not about escaping our ordinary life to float on a cloud of bliss. It is the very opposite. It is about bringing an extraordinary quality of presence and love to our very ordinary lives. Liberation is found in the way you wash the dishes, feeling the warm water on your hands. It is found in the way you walk down the street, feeling the sensation of your feet on the earth. It is found in the way you listen to a friend, offering them the full gift of your attention. The sacred is not in a faraway temple. The sacred is woven into the fabric of the mundane when we bring our full, loving awareness to each moment. Every act becomes a meditation, every moment a miracle. There is a timeless Sufi story that perfectly illustrates this entire journey of ours. It is the story of a man who lived in a small, humble house. One night, he had a vivid and powerful dream. In the dream, a voice told him that a magnificent treasure was waiting for him, buried under a specific bridge in the capital city, a city that was many hundreds of miles away. The dream was so compelling that when he awoke, he was convinced it was a divine message. He sold his few belongings, packed a small bag, and set off on the long and difficult journey to the capital. He traveled for months, facing hardships and adventures along the way. Finally, he arrived in the great city and found the very bridge from his dream. But to his dismay, the bridge was heavily guarded day and night. He couldn't possibly start digging. He decided to wait. He would walk back and forth near the bridge each day, hoping for an opportunity. After several days, the captain of the guard, a large and imposing man, noticed him lingering. He strode over to the man and asked him what he was doing there. The man, intimidated but honest, told the captain about his dream of a treasure buried beneath the bridge. The captain of the guard threw his head back and let out a booming laugh. "You foolish man," he roared, "to travel all this way because of a silly dream. Why? You must be mad. If I were to follow my dreams, I would be on a fool's errand myself. For years, I have had a recurring dream about a great treasure buried in a town far from here. The dream tells me it's buried in the garden of a man named Isaac, under the apple tree behind his house. But I am a man of reason. I am not so foolish as to go chasing after a dream." The traveler stood there, stunned into silence. He learned the name of the captain's town and realized it was his own. He bowed deeply to the captain, turned around, and began the long journey home. When he arrived back at his own humble house, he went into his own garden, to the apple tree he had known his entire life. He began to dig, and there, buried beneath the roots of his own tree, he found the magnificent treasure he had journeyed all over the world to find. Sometimes, you have to go on a long journey away from home to realize that everything you were ever searching for was right where you started. This is our journey. We have traveled far and wide through the inner landscapes of the mind. We have explored suffering. We have cultivated compassion. We have faced our deepest fears. And now, at the end of all our seeking, we arrive back home in the simple garden of the present moment. And we realize the treasure of peace, freedom, and love was here all along. An awakened heart is not a destination we must strive to reach, but a way of living each moment with the wisdom that we are already home. Our long journey has brought us right back to where we began, but with new eyes, able to see the sacred magic in the ordinary. Now, let us pause and look back one final time to gather the essence of this path and carry it forward into our waking lives. Our long journey through the inner country of the heart is coming to a close. We began with the feeling of a great weight, a heavy backpack filled with the stones of yesterday's sorrows and regrets. We set out on a path to understand this burden, and along the way, we have learned so much. We learned to sit still on the bank of the mind's flowing river, finding our anchor in the simple, faithful rhythm of the breath. We discovered the profound wisdom in the dance of impermanence, and in seeing the illusion of a fixed, separate self, we found the freedom to let go of who we thought we were supposed to be. With this freedom, our hearts began to open, and we tended to them with the 4 great medicines: the warmth of loving kindness, the courage of compassion, the lightness of sympathetic joy, and the deep, abiding peace of equanimity. With this newfound strength, we turn to face our inner storms, our past hurts, and our deepest fears, not as enemies, but as friends. We found the gold hidden in our scars, and we realized, after all our searching, that the treasure we sought was buried in our own garden, in the sacred ground of the present moment. The core message of this entire journey is simple and profound. The peace you have been searching for is not in another place, another time, or another person. It has been here, inside you, all along. It is your true nature. Peace is not a state of no storms. It is the ability to be the calm, steady mountain while the weather of life comes and goes. Freedom is not found by erasing the past, but by changing your relationship to it, by choosing to no longer be burdened by that which has already passed. Your soul does not need to be fixed, for it was never truly broken. It was only obscured, like the clear water of the lake beneath the mud. Your work is not to create peace, but to create the conditions for the mud to settle, allowing the peace that is already here to be revealed. As you drift now into the deep, healing quiet of the night, know that all the tools you need are already in your possession. The breath is your constant, faithful companion, always ready to bring you back home. The present moment is your eternal refuge, a safe harbor in any storm. You have the capacity for immense kindness, profound compassion, and unshakable peace within you. Rest is your birthright. Let go of the day. Let go of the stories. Let go of the journey. There is nowhere else you need to be. There is nothing else you need to do. Rest now. You have traveled far. You are home.